Oh, hi.
Hello.
What's up?
Oh, I like how I slid in there. Like some people slid into our DMs.
Ah, dang. Related.
Yep. Yep. How are you?
Uh, I'm good. I'm okay. It's a little, I don't know. I have, the only thing, I know we're going back to Thursday, which I do like, but Thursdays is therapy days. I have Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning. And if it's a serious day or like a more in-depth session, it's like on my mind all day. But I'm here. I'm focused. I had my emotions in the morning and now I'm going to shove it down and be positive, okay?
That's it. That's the answer. Shove it down. Never ever feel it.
Way down low.
Yep. Yep.
Don't look
Yeah.
at it
I
again.
also had a bit of an intense therapy session this week, so I relate.
Okay, good. So if we just start crying or, yelling uncontrollably, y'all know why. Y'all,
Y'all. Yep.
the y'alls
Yeah.
of
I
England
mean,
and Florida. Y'all.
apparently my problem is more that I don't cry, but some people do cry,
Just give it
as we
time.
have established on on a previous episode of this
Yes.
saga.
Yes. Should we revisit it at all? Like, we can play. Do you want to play the Instagram post? That's the shorter one. That sort of started it all with our girl Cathy.
Yeah, definitely. You guys know who Cathy is at this point, right? Like,
The basics, at least.
we've already covered Cathy before. Um, yeah,
Just
let's show that first Instagram post, that reel, like,
yeah.
and
I made a reel, and it got really got some real attention, sort of. So hold on, let me pull this over. Yeah. It was a while back. It was in September when I posted it, at least on Instagram.
yeah, this was a while back. This is a yeah, we needed a long time to gather our thoughts. We needed half a year.
Yes. If it's rich people or if it's self-help development people or a mix of both, but there seems to be a confusion for them of freedom of speech and undying love and support. They don't see the difference.
One of the days where I lost the most followers, I posted on my Instagram a text from my mortgage broker that I can buy a $10 million house.
I told people about my $10 million luxury home, and some people didn't like it. Is it not enough for you to have a $10 million house? Like, that's a sickness, in my opinion. Like, it's not enough for you to have and to be living and to be secure enough and, financially abundant enough to live in this $10 million house that you have to also get social media, like, validation about it. What is wrong with you? I don't know if it's so. I just really beat around the bush there. I did not say my opinion very clearly. I really wanted to make sure that no one knew my true feelings here. Just kidding.
No, I know we appreciate that subtlety that you display. Um,
Yes, that was Cathy. You
but
saw her quickly, but we can go over who she is again. She is the lady who I soundbited that says,
You're not freaking fine.
"You're not freaking fine." Okay.
yeah, Cathy. Okay, so here's the interesting part about Cathy. While Cathy is very much in the self-help industry, she swears she isn't.
Yeah. She says she's not.
She promised that she is not. So it's kind of hard to really talk when you can't really say the things that you see as they are or as you see them, because they are definitely not what you think that they are. You know what I mean? That
I
is
don't
this
know.
called is this called gaslighting 101 or exact? I'm not sure. Um,
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's do a timeline. So that Instagram reel goes out, and that was cut from a segment. And that was the whole show that we did that day wasn't even all about her. That was like an extra, like, link that I had just in case we had time one day. And I forget the main topic of the show, but I was like, yeah, let's just look at this little video. And then we both reacted to it. And I think the whole segment was like 20 minutes. And then like that day or the next day, you got a DM.
I got a DM. I did get a DM, a voice memo, to be more precise. Yeah, and I don't know if it was just that immediately. Maybe there might have been some time in between. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. Somebody saw our video, and apparently we're not very good at criticizing. Did you guys know that?
Yeah. And then so
apparently we suck at this.
After she reached out to you, she reached out to me too and said that she had already reached out to you. And I only responded I responded twice through text. I did not send her any voice memos back. But mine were short, but you and her got pretty deeply into a conversation.
Well, my initial feeling was very much like, oh, this is an opportunity. Like we get to talk, like, because like as someone who has criticized the self-help industry to death, like very poorly apparently, but anyway, I've criticized it to death for years. You rarely get an opportunity to actually talk to someone in the industry, to exchange opinions.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction was, maybe we get to actually talk, like to meet on a podcast or on a live and talk. Mm-hmm. So I tried to approach it from that perspective. And yeah, that's what I did, because I would have loved to get the opportunity to speak just in depth and kind of like flesh out all of my criticism of this industry, and get someone's input. So when that didn't happen, because we're apparently mean girls, when that didn't happen, I was left with the option of fleshing it out via voice memos, which is not as good if you ask me, but I had to work with what I had. So
yeah.
That was what I had. And it's not as good as actually getting to talk to someone, but whatever.
Yeah, and that was the focus. So basically, she reached out to both of us, and immediately we were like, "Let's do this publicly." Like, so do you want? I can read mine first because mine's much shorter. Because I think we should go through yours like in depth, because it goes like into a lot of detail about her life and why she does the things she does and all of that. Mine was much more concise because I didn't respond very much. So, okay, here we go. So this is proof, everybody. It's real. So first of all, she doesn't really believe she's even a part of the self-help industry, which I find to be shocking and
no,
surprising. So
she doesn't believe it, or she doesn't want us to believe it. Like,
yeah. So this is my message here. That's the only thing I said other than pointing out something that she had said and sort of, we'll get to it. So let's play. This is from my DMs. I'll play the voice memo. Here we go.
Hi, Kia. It's Cathy Heller. I was just searching for something, and I actually found this video that you made of me, and I just felt like I had to say hello. I really did. I also reached out to your co-host just because the two of you, by the way, it's really cool that you have this much enthusiasm and passion. I feel like people probably love watching you. But I felt like you spent at least 30 minutes looking at my content and talking about what I was doing. So I just felt like, how could I not say hello? And so I'm saying hello. And it just felt like it had to be done. So hello, I hope you're having a beautiful day. And I felt like we should connect. So here I am.
Okay, so that was the initial reach out. So then I said, after that, hold on, pause it for a second. So I said just through text, "Hi, Cathy, thanks for reaching out and thanks for being a good sport. I appreciate it truly and hope you're not too offended. I'm sure it's not fun or easy to hear criticism, especially delivered in the way we do. Can relate a little bit of your discussion together, and I also think it's a great idea to talk if our schedules ever align. I used the terminology there, alignment. I was a huge self-help fan for years and found the industry to be problematic and harmful to me overall. Creating our show has been extremely cathartic for me. Nice to connect with you. Okay, so in my opinion, I kept it neutral. I wanted to double down on Cam's discussion about taking this public and like, let's do it on a podcast, let's do it on a show. Like, there's no point to, you know, hide in the DMs necessarily, in my opinion. I didn't say that outright. In my opinion, too. Yeah, like, let's talk.
We actually both expressed this to her, and it would have been nice, you know, like, I mean, how lovely would that be, just to get to actually talk to not even just to get to talk, but to see that someone is actually willing to listen to what we have to say. Would have been, I think it shows integrity from that person. I think it shows that they are not actually aware of the problematic things that this industry has. But no, that was not the response. Well, we'll get into that in a second, but you know.
What was the real, because the way she made it seem was like, okay, I'm down, I'm open to that. And then it quickly turned into not so much really down. And this next part, she goes more of voice memos. And this next part, I do agree with her in the sense of she's going to say that, you know, we were pretty mean to her. And I went back and watched the segment to like at the time to like see what I said. And I agree on my part. It was a, you know, not a nice take, and it wasn't all, or what do you call it? Productive criticism or whatever. Like, you know, yes, we talked about her crying a lot and sort of like the, in my opinion, ridiculousness of that, like in every clip to be crying about, you know, your life, like, oh, I just had an epiphany today. Oh, I'm crying. I just had an epiphany today. And we talked about her, or I said like her videos are like so blurry. I'm like, get a good camera. Like, you're making millions of dollars allegedly, like get a working camera. So yeah, I agree. But I didn't.
Okay, but that's not even.
Yeah. And I, you know,
that's
again,
just
like,
fair enough. You know, like, you're allowed to commentate and say something like that. Like, I don't feel like, I mean, I'm sure it's not nice to hear it, but I'm pretty sure that she's aware.
Yeah, and I will say I don't think that constitutes bullying. Personally, I don't think that constitutes like, you know, oh my God, like what a horrible person. But I will agree that it wasn't all constructive criticism. Like, we just want to help her do better. It wasn't that. It was to snark on her and people like her in the industry. So she is right in that case. But I still think, you know, it's not like I called her up and said, these are all the things I want you to change and know about yourself. You know, we were just making content about her and her work that she puts out there to the masses. So, and like, you know, she sells $10,000 group masterminds. I think it's fair to critique a little bit. So that's my preemptive defense of myself. And so, okay, so then she responded to the message. So 4 messages here. And then you'll see that my only response back is this screenshot from her own YouTube channel, because she's going to defend herself about some things that I said. Okay, here we go.
Sweet message. I appreciate it. I just got home from back to school night with my kids. And I totally get it, by the way. Like, I have been a student of, like, you know, seeking all these books and all this stuff for such a long time. And I've definitely seen plenty of stuff that felt really disingenuous and toxic to me. And as I told your co-host, I'm like, maybe you'll stick around long enough to find me less cringeable and you'll be like pleasantly surprised, but you're totally entitled to how you feel. I think some of what you said, if we're all being intellectually honest, was not necessarily constructive criticism, but more, some of it was like just meanness, but like, I totally get it and you're all good. And I have nothing but love. And I think people probably love watching you guys. And
probably.
I really just wanted to reach out to send love in your direction, because I hear.
Okay, that was one.
Because I'm seeing what you're writing, that what'd you say, the self-help industry was problematic and harmful, and that sucks. And by the way, I don't really consider myself a self-help person. I've never watched The Secret. I don't usually use the word like manifest. I was actually a songwriter.
Okay. So I just want to stop for a second at that point, because she said, I don't know. I don't usually use the word manifest, right? Okay, so at the time, that might have been true. But literally now, she updated her bio, and it says, I help women to manifest total abundance and build an empire. So what the fuck are you talking about? You don't use the word manifest. It's right there on your bio.
I think Cathy has decided to embrace it. As much as she didn't like the criticism, she now has embraced it and made it her bio and her personality, maybe.
So
I think this was true before, though.
Have we influenced
We have,
her?
oh my God, we've influenced Cathy Heller. Wow.
We're influencers, everybody.
Yes, we are. Yes. Feels so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's not a manifester. She doesn't watch The Secret. Cool. But apparently she does now because she's updated things. Yeah. Okay. So that was one part. All right. So we're halfway through the second one, sort of.
For years and had a career as a songwriter, and then started a podcast called Don't Keep Your Day Job to help people build a side hustle. And it's really freaking cool. We've helped people like this woman, Taktis, for instance, who came from Pakistan and
Okay, so now she's going to go into like what her business actually does. And, you know, as we said, it's coaching, masterminding, courses, I believe.
It's definitely not like a pyramid, though.
Yeah, it's not MLM necessarily, but, you know, I don't know if she's selling her coaching to sell them coaching. I don't know. It seems to be like, oh, I'll help you run a business. And maybe she's good at it. I have no idea. I don't have 10 grand to go and try it out. So we'll never know, to go to her luxury house that she hosts them in. But I felt this part is she's trying to, in my opinion, she's trying to say like, oh, I help minority women. And this will come up with Cam's conversation, how it'll make sense, I think, when you hear her side. But, you know, I help minority women make money. And so therefore I should not be criticized. It's not just like a pyramid scheme. It's deeper than that. It's helping cultures that aren't white, rich women, which is sort of how we identified her in our critique. And so I think this was her response to that. Like, well, no, I helped a woman from Pakistan and therefore, you know, I am better than you.
But I do have a question.
What?
Does she have an ally tattoo?
No, I don't think so.
Cathy, if you're listening, just so you know, some people have a tattoo that says ally. Like, what are you up to? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's
Get on
the
it.
true. Yeah, the
That's
true
really
definition.
how you show it. Everyone sees it on your arm, like, you know, or whatever, forehead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, performative. I mean, just kidding.
Sorry. Let's not, you know, let's stick to our journalistic backgrounds and just be very, very flat and no, you know,
Yes,
no
neutral.
emotion needs to be shown and you know, no
that is
mean
one way.
girl behavior, because we don't want Cathy to think that we're being mean here.
Yeah, definitely not. And you know, she doesn't have an ally tattoo, but I believe this is her way to let me know and you know that she is an ally and to stop bugging her about it, you know. So here we go.
Yep.
he had $50 and now grew a business where she has over $100,000. And this woman, Gail Keys Allen, who's 64 and African American, and she was able to grow this amazing business and she made 250 grand last year. So I'm really more in the entrepreneurship, helping people step into abundance space. And I started with nothing, and I had a single mom and grew up in an apartment with no electricity some of the time. And I feel like, and I truly felt like I learned that my greatest resource was being resourceful. And I really feel like when we're present and we have empathy, my mentor Seth Godin says business is radical empathy. And like, that's how I built a business, and that's how I grew a podcast. And anyway, I really love human beings very, very much, which is why I reached out to you guys. And I know some people say like, I'm a cat person, I'm a dog person. I'm like, I'm a people person. Like I would have every adult human over for dinner if I could. I kind of see the world as like one.
We wanted
It's like
that.
you look at the ocean and waves.
We wanted the dinner without the actual dinner, you know, and she didn't want us for dinner, like on a podcast.
Yeah, I guess we could have been like, can we come to your house, privately? Maybe she would have been down. I don't know. It's sort of
Should
devolved.
be like, yeah, it's 10 grand.
Yeah, it's 10 grand to walk through my door, baby. This is a business. So yeah, now she's going into the, I love everybody. And, I think this part to me is, unlike you, critical, negative people, I love everyone. So again, I'm better than you. That's how I took it. Like, I'm more mature, I'm more open-minded than you. You're just mean. And this is like her, I think, passive aggressive way to say, like, you guys are wrong. Which, fair enough. Like, your opinion's fine. I disagree. I think sharing that you have a $10 million house to people is actually more hurtful than me and you saying, like, that's hurtful to people that are suffering during COVID, to see someone, like some podcaster online going, I have a $10 million house.
Yeah.
That's my
Also,
opinion.
have you ever said the phrase, I love people?
No. Probably not.
I don't think, it's not the kind of thing that people just go around advertising about themselves. I just love people. I just love everyone.
Yeah, I don't think that's true, because it's like, every person, you love every person. I don't think that's true. Like, murderers, I don't know. That's one example. People who hate women, like, do you love them too? Like, if so, okay, let's talk about that. And how do you get there? That's interesting content to me. But I just think it's like, I love everyone who likes me. It's like, okay, well, that's easy.
It sounds to me like I'm a nice person. I'm a good person. And I'm pretty sure she must have said this I haven't listened to these in a long time, but I'm pretty sure she said this again in the conversation I had with her. So if anything, you guys just remember, Cathy loves everyone.
Every human. Cats and dogs, not so much. And thank you, Mai, for the super chat, who says she is in the saviorship industry, guys. This is what Mai has to say about this.
You're not freaking fine.
You're not freaking fine.
Mai, you are such a mean girl.
How rude.
Scruffy cons.
You're all scruffy cons to us. Thank you, Mai. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyways, so now she's going to get a little bit more philosophical and then wrap it up in the next 60 seconds. So here we go.
Over for dinner if I could. I kind of see the world as like one. It's like you look at the ocean and waves are not separate from each other. It's impossible to divide them, and they're not separate from the ocean itself. And
okay.
I spent 3 years in Jerusalem before I came to LA and studied mysticism. And so for me, love is something that just is. It's unconditional, and I just really try to give that to everyone all the time. And truthfully, I've just felt very, very grateful that I just feel so much of that come back and forth. And so this was actually, I was on YouTube looking for something totally different. I found this video and I was like, like, it hurts my heart to think that anyone in the world anywhere is feeling anything that's hurting their stomach in any way because of me. So anyway, I'm glad that we connected, and I just feel better for it.
Cool. And my whole response was this, just a screenshot of a video that had in the thumbnail how to manifest your abundance, because I just was like, that was the thing that stuck out to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even like The Secrets. Like, you
what
are
even
definitely
is self-help?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it in my life.
Like,
All I do is help people with themselves.
Yeah, myself through money. And the whole thing is like, I just love people unconditionally. No, you don't. That is a lie. And you shouldn't do that if you do that, because that's how people get manipulated. And there needs to be, another word for conditions is boundaries. So if you're teaching people to not have boundaries with anyone, clients or whatever, they're going to be bad entrepreneurs. and probably unhappy people in life. So I just think that's a silly thing to say. And it's just like immature, I think, to be like, I love people unconditionally. It's like, why?
Come on, okay. I'm not gonna be mean. I'm not gonna be mean. But come on, like, what is the reason why anyone will insist so hard that they love people and that they're good, and that what is that? What is the reason behind that?
I don't know. I think they're trying to convince themselves and others that that's true. But the thing is, the whole reason we were talking about her is because she was, expressing disappointment in people who had unfollowed her because they didn't support her having a $10 million house. And people weren't like cheering her on social media. And my take was, isn't it enough for you to have $10 million that you also have to have social media validation for it? What's wrong with you? Like, get a grip on what blessings you have in your life, like to make that piece of content where it's almost like, women don't support women who criticize. It's like, get a grip. Like, that's what I was saying, and I don't know. Her response to that is just like, oh, I love everybody. It's like, no, you don't. That's not even true. And it shouldn't be true. And it's not.
Did Cathy love those people criticizing her for
exactly
her
no
mansion?
She was upset about it. And it's her take. Just stick by your take. Don't say like, oh, I've never had a take in my life. It's like, everyone has different takes about different things. And the fact that she felt so uncomfortable that someone was negative about her shows, I think, a little bit of insecurity that, like, look, I'm not going to like anyone who has self-help in their, or abundance manifest in their bio ever, most likely again. So you can't necessarily change my mind by telling me like, oh, but I like everybody. I don't know if you knew, but I am a real person. Like, I know you're a real person, and I'm still choosing to make critiques on your public facing work. And I take the burden of that all the time, that I know that I might be hurting somebody, but it's a give and take.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. It's just very like, my initial reaction was, this is manipulative. Like, it's not, I feel like if she really wanted to have a conversation, she could have just had it because we offered. But no, she just wanted to say some amazingly nice things about us and about herself, so that we decide eventually that she's a great person and we will never speak of her again, and that we were in the wrong and we didn't realize that we hurt somebody. And this is the thing that also doesn't concern me, really, to be completely honest, because this isn't just a person on the internet. This is a business that she has. She sells services. She sells herself as the image of her brand and of her business. This isn't just, I didn't just pick out a random person on Instagram who doesn't take people's money to, for different services. This is just a business in my eyes. So you're allowed to talk about businesses, if that makes sense. And Cathy's the image of it, at least in my eyes.
Oh yeah,
I don't
definitely
see Cathy as like, oh, this is a person that I've just criticized out of nowhere. We're talking about someone who offers something on the internet, just like we are.
Yeah. And I feel like I struggle with that. And I've talked about this before on this channel and my own. I do struggle with like knowing that people see the work that I do and we do, and it does make me nervous sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to like cause anyone trauma. However, if there is no critique, if there is no balance of power where people are able to say, this is not good in my opinion, or this can be manipulative, then it runs rampant and there is no checks and balances. So I feel like it is important work to do. Otherwise, it's like if there's only positive, then it's like you'll never know the truth or never have an alternative view of something. Like, should I spend $10,000 going to this woman's house and learning from her? If the only things that you see online are yes, 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 amazing, she's perfect, then maybe you spend the money and feel ripped off at the end. Who knows? But I think,
well, let me ask you this. if anyone who bought your merch messages you and they say this t-shirt is absolutely trash, or let's say if they didn't message you, they are on the internet and they're talking about something, and then there's holes in the t-shirt or something, and they mention they don't like the quality of that because it's Kia's world or something.
Yeah.
Will you take it personally and be like, but I'm a good person?
No.
Like
No, I
you'd be
won't.
like, okay, fair enough. Let me try to give you a refund. Or like, I don't know what you would do, but you would probably approach it as a business owner.
Yeah, I think so, and that's why I continue to do it, regardless of my feelings, because I do get nervous. I do. I'm not going to say like I've come to grips with it. I haven't fully, but especially because and like Heidi's messaging me now and stuff, and or has in the past, and it's like I've said a lot of things about her, and I'm like, oh, have I crossed the line here? But in reality, it's like at the end of the day, I feel like I have a right to do it. If I don't do it, I think people at large, more people suffer for not hearing an alternative point of view. And I think it should be encouraged to have both positive and negative things to say about everything. So I get past it that way. And it's almost like their fault. Like no one forced you to be the brand. Like that was a thing back in like 2010. Like, what's your brand? You are your brand. What are your brand? That was every seminar that I had gone to about business. It was like, you are the brand. Okay. So now she's decided to do that. Yeah. That comes with negative criticism sometimes. And I still think we were pretty light about
and even
it.
if I wasn't, I still don't feel bad, because I don't think when they get messages like, oh my God, you're amazing, I don't think they complain. They go like, you shouldn't be giving me praise. Like, nobody complains when they get good feedback, but suddenly when it's bad, they're human beings who have feelings. It's like, what?
Yeah. That's the part. That's the part that gets confusing, because at the end of the day, they are people, and I do acknowledge that. However, if you don't and can't handle the feedback you get, and whether it be positive or negative, then you shouldn't be in the business you're in. You should take a behind the scenes role and not get as much, and that could solve it. Otherwise,
Yeah, and also, the thing, the reality of being a human being is that we are going to be judgy. We're going to, like, it's impossible, as much as you might try to think of yourself as above others, like you have no judgment and blah blah blah. It's bullshit. You are human.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. Why do we deny that? Like, why do we say, oh no, I don't judge anyone? It's like, do you think you're above humanity? You're above everyone else who has natural feelings about everything?
Yeah, it's impossible not to judge people. So people will judge her because she's in the public eye, and they will judge her regardless. The difference with what we've done is that we did it on a public forum and we are standing by our words.
Yeah, so I don't take it back at all.
If anything, this is very valuable feedback that she could take on board. Some of it, at least, would be valuable feedback. And she could be like, instead of saying, oh my God, these girls are so mean and they're judging me, maybe she could think, okay, am I doing something that is maybe just kind of a little bit on the edge?
Yeah.
that might not sit well with some people.
Have I become an echo chamber of my own, worldview completely, that I thought posting about a $10 million house was a totally, something that everyone was going to be happy about. But I forgot that there's millions of people, especially at that time when she posted it, that are, losing their jobs or, afraid of paying rent on time, and that it might come off as insensitive. Maybe next time I will think about it. That didn't come up once. She didn't listen to the content of what we were saying. She just said, you were pretty mean at certain points, and I'm a good person, and I went to, Jerusalem to study mysticism, so that means I love everyone. It's like, okay, did you hear what we said though? Like, I never thought you didn't love people because you made that post. And
yeah, and the first time she contacted me, she messaged the next day saying that she went and listened to some of the video. So I'm like, wait,
did you watch it or not?
Without even watching? Like, so yeah, what's that? Why would you contact someone to be like, I know you have a video about me that I haven't watched? Okay.
Yeah, I just know it's bad.
I know I'm
Based on the
uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like you need to watch, and you need to watch the whole thing. And if you're gonna contact me, address some criticism. Don't just tell me you're a good person.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, like, I would love to debate somebody like her, and I think I would look like an asshole during it, but I think that it would be worth it in the long term, because there are a lot of things that all these people say that I think if they heard from someone who's not up their own ass, would be like, oh, maybe that is a good point. Or, when you say just manifest abundance to build your empire to someone who's working 2 jobs and has kids at home that need to be fed, it's like, this is unrealistic. So can you target people who are, upper middle class and make that clear that, someone who's struggling to pay the bills right now, this $10,000 mastermind is not for you. This is for people who are established at a certain level, who have a certain, security of income, and just be honest about it. But then they try to target the most desperate people to join these things because they have the most need for hope. And that's where I get upset, because it's like, you need to be, because you're going to get there and you're like, okay, let's do a 10-hour meditation. And then now you're going to start your business because you have the right mindset. It's like, come on, man. Like,
well, Cathy has a podcast, and there's a screenshot in the folder of that called something like "Quit Your Day Job," or
what it's called? It's called like "Quit Your Day Job." Hold on, let me pull it up. Yeah, now something.
And I think this is very bad advice, because I've heard it so many times from self-help influencers, because don't keep your day job. Yeah. So I personally really don't agree with that. I think you should absolutely keep your day job. Like, what the hell? And most times that I've seen in the self-help industry is that people will minimize the real struggle that is behind the scenes. Like, for example, if you have if you have a day job and then you also have a child or something, it might not be the wisest idea for you to just go and quit your job. And I'm sure that they're going to come up with, like, no excuses and blah blah blah.
Take the leap, build the plane on the way down. Yeah.
Taking care of your child, making sure that your child is fed is not an excuse. Paying your bills is not an excuse. You can't just bypass that. And I'm sure they're going to have like reasons, like, oh, you get a side hustle for like 10 years and then, slowly build. It's like, sure, but what if there are 100,000 ways that you can do it that is better, which is like, get promoted? Why not spend a decade trying to like get better at the job that you're already doing? And just kind of, I think there's just so many other opportunities and possibilities that are not quitting your job and joining a self-help influencer and giving them 10 grand for this. It's not for everyone. Not everyone wants a business, and they market this to everyone, and especially to people who are struggling. Yeah. It's like, no, maybe if you're struggling, the answer is not to quit your job.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I was manipulated by this type of rhetoric for years. Like, I sat at my day job and was upset and just miserable because I thought, oh my God, I'm so weak. I'm so afraid. I'm so lame. I won't just, quit and travel the world and be a digital nomad. Meanwhile, in reality, a lot of the people, they didn't say that they had, a $20,000 trust fund, or they were making, all this money from some place, or their parents gave them and helped them support them. They would only say, I'm making money with brand deals that I made along the way, and just like book your trip to Brazil and do it like I did. And I'm like, wow, like, I don't know how to do that with my credit cards maxed out like I have them already. And I'm just trying to work, and I just felt like I am such a loser all the time because I didn't take these big risks that they said. I didn't spend 10 grand on the mastermind, and I would hate myself every day. And I'm like, my life's passing me by. All these people are doing all this crazy cool things. And it's like, in reality, we don't have the whole picture. It's all marketing. It's all to get you to feel like that so that you pay the money to see, and then you get behind the door and then it's like, oh, it's just like bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. And I just don't want anyone else to experience that if they don't have to. So
I have criticized Marie Forleo in the past for this, but Marie Forleo spoke in her book, and I'm pretty sure that she said this in videos too, that a person was so desperate to come to her retreat that she sold her couch.
Yeah.
Now, there was another one in the self-help industry called Dan Locke, who talked about the fact that somebody, or I don't know if he talked about it or somebody else, maybe somebody, the guy that went on CoffeeZilla talked about it, but he said that he saw this guy who was just in line to pay for his next, because every time they do this, it's like a sales funnel. So they were at a thing and they were being sold on the next thing. And the guy was in line to pay for the next thing that was more expensive. So he was praying that his credit card wouldn't be declined, and it did get declined. And he just fell on the floor, like sobbing. When you think about these people, I'm like, are they in a position to be paying so much money? Clearly not. This woman's going to come back from a conference and not have a couch in her house.
Yeah.
That nothing at that conference would have happened so quickly that she suddenly doesn't need a couch.
And that's what pushes people to be manipulative of their clients, because if that woman now doesn't have a couch and she's got to make her rent this month because she just spent money on Marie Forleo's, bullshit mastermind, or even if it's not bullshit, even if it's like a mastermind about being a coach for someone else, now your incentive is to lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, gaslight, do whatever you have to do to get your clients that you're paying your bills. So you're not really acting the most ethically sound if you're desperate for cash and now you just invested all this money. That's what makes people, act out of their natural morals and ethics when it comes to business, because it's like, how desperate are you for the money? The more you are, the more you're willing to go, well, I don't really have these skills, but I'm going to tell the person that's interested that I do, so I retain that client. And that's where it goes downhill.
At the same time, another criticism, if you will, Cathy, if you're listening, these people, both Marie Forleo and Dan Locke, in those situations didn't say, you know what, let me give you this for free. After all, I have 10,000 customers that just paid. I can give you a free ticket. Marie Forleo didn't say that. Dan Locke didn't say that. No. So they are very happy to take money from people who literally can't afford it, who will go into credit card debt.
They don't care.
So instead of doing something generous. So I'm not sure at which point does the generosity start, or the abundance from Marie Forleo and Dan Locke start, because there's no abundance being sent forward to these people who can't pay.
Yeah, but they'll justify it. Like, well, if they didn't have to pay, then they won't work hard because there's nothing to lose. So I'm actually helping them by charging them more. They have a justification for everything.
They do, but unfortunately, you're not helping them if they have to sell their couch. I'm sorry, but that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Now she feels like she's invested. No, she doesn't. Now she feels like she doesn't have where to sit to watch TV.
Well, now she won't have time for TV because she'll be hustling every day.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Why not make her sell her house too? And because then if she's in the cold winter, that's a motivation for business.
Yeah, cold plunge all day, every minute of the day. You live outside.
Yeah.
Here's a soundbite for everyone talking about mango frequency.
The mango frequency.
It's a long story. I can't even explain it right now. But just know that there's a mango frequency and everyone's after it. Okay. So this is now Cam's conversation with Cathy, and it gets into much more detail than mine.
Buckle up, everybody, because I got triggered at a couple of points.
And Cam does send voice memos, so you'll hear Cam's voice as well. So it's much more exciting than mine, where I'm like, my one engagement is like, here's a screenshot, I'm done. I had nothing to say. Okay, so here we go. This is from September 13th.
Hi, Camellia. I just wanted to say hi because I just watched the video that you guys made, and I just wanted to really just to check in. And I just felt like you guys spent time thinking about and talking about whatever you felt like I am. And I just thought maybe I should just say hello for whatever it's worth. And I don't know. I just felt like I've never seen a video like that. And it's interesting. And I just felt like I wouldn't go the rest of the day without reaching out and saying it'd be interesting to actually direct message you and just hear a little bit more about what's really going on. And maybe you might even be curious what's going on with me, or maybe not.
Okay, the funniest part. I'm sending extra love your way. I mean it. This is a song I wrote. I hope it makes your heart smile. I forgot about that part.
My heart did not smile. I didn't listen to the song. Sorry, Cathy. But thanks for the extra love. I definitely felt very loved.
Maybe she's trying to get us to be copyright striked so she can get the AdSense from this video.
No, I don't think that's it. But
That's
I
3D
appreciate
chess.
the attempt at like love bombing me there.
And an elephant with a heart. Yeah, she like messaged you first, like I said. So she went hard and like on the love on yours, and then she like toned it down a little bit for mine. She's like, here's my love-filled post. Oh, here's a song I wrote for you. Oh, here's a little elephant. Whoops. Okay, and he said, hi, Cathy. And then she responded immediately, hi, with heart love emoji. You guys are very good at your show, by the way. I also cringe at so many things online, so I understand the cringe factor. Good to be a voice of reason. Okay. I hope the more you get to know me, you'll feel less cringe and more of something that feels really genuinely good to you. But I totally get I'm not everyone's cup of tea. You're totally allowed to feel all of the feels. Glad we connected either way with lips. Okay. My thoughts on this are we don't need your permission to feel the way we feel. We already feel it, whether you're going to like bless it or not. And I just feel like this is something that, I don't know, people tend to do in power. They're like, you're entitled to your opinion. It's like, yes, I know you're not granting me that gift. I already am entitled to my opinion without your input whatsoever. So the fact that she repeats it like twice, I feel like that's a way to almost try to garner a little bit of power back because she feels out of power and out of control, that we're just taking her message and doing whatever we want with it. So I think to me, that's what it feels like. She's trying to bring it back in.
Yeah. Also, she's trying to make it clear that she's not
Affected.
Completely agrees.
I'm the cringiest person you've ever met. I have no
She's like, I have
argument.
no problem with your video. Like only 100 problems.
Yeah. One by one, but I'm cool with it. I'm totally cool. I totally get it. I'm so
cool.
cringe. I hate myself too. You know.
I'm too cool for this. You know.
But let's spend the next 4 hours discussing this.
Oh, this was days. I think it was at the very least 3 days, if not 4.
Back and forth. Yeah. Okay. So, then she sends a voice memo, which starts. Okay, here. Hold on. Sorry.
My apologies. I'm trying to listen and respond. I'm just back from the gym, so I was just trying to get my thoughts together.
Cringe. I'm just kidding. No. That was Cam, obviously. And then she responds, oh my gosh, take your time. Okay, now here's her voice memo.
Oh, no worries at all. I just stopped part of my days. I'm here having lunch, and then I'm going to go back to have a meeting. But I just wanted to reach out because I totally get when things are cringeworthy, and just in general, living in this world. I'm 43. I can tell you my experiences. There's just so much I don't trust in certain things about the world and people. So I don't question
what happened to loving everyone?
I thought everyone was in the same ocean and waves came and we're all in the same boat.
I thought she loved everyone. Now she has mistrust.
She mistrusts through love, which I guess is possible, but it's an odd way to love somebody. I don't trust you at all. Heart emoji.
Yeah, that didn't work for me and my ex.
Yeah. The lack of trust is making me feel more love. Okay, here we go.
Is that you guys feel like, what's up with this? You know what I mean? So I just feel like sometimes so many things have proven to be so gross that we then maybe assume that somebody else is like that and not trustworthy when really they might not be. But you don't have to defend yourself. Not everybody likes everyone, and that's okay. And I really just wanted to reach out because if there was anything I did that caused you any I just wanted to say hi because we're both just two people in this world, and I wanted you to feel that.
I think the clear reason is that she wanted to not be talked about again is the goal here.
I mean, I thought that's pretty obvious, no?
Yeah. I mean, it's not just like, oh, I'm cringe, I know it, I just want to say that's really funny and I get it. No, to me, I mean, it seems very clear that she's like, please stop talking about me.
Yeah. It's like, you're entitled to have cringe opinions. It's fine. Just wanted to make sure, I see them.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay. That's unfortunate. I would prefer you not to see them. But yeah, I guess if you're going to see them, thanks for letting me know. I will change nothing about my delivery. And then she said, P.S. My grandparents are Romanian. Very cool. I just saw you're from there. The wrong use of your. Yeah.
Sorry, let's not be petty because there's plenty there. We can't start with that.
Just pointing it out. Just saying we're all humans. So
this is where I basically just kind of went to her and I said, I would be keen to have this conversation in a podcast or something. I think this is it. Let's just play.
Yeah. Okay. And then Cam says, wow, I'm in Romania. That is amazing.
Thank you, Cathy, for reaching out. I really appreciate that. I hope that we weren't too harsh. We tend to be very unforgiving when it comes to the self-help space. So it's not really so much about you. I personally didn't even know about you before Kayla showed me the content of the video. So, it's just there are some tropes that we don't necessarily love about the self-help industry, and we like to open people's eyes about them and stuff like that. So that's kind of a very, very important mission for us.
Before we go on, Yaga Baba Violetta, thank you so much.
Oh, that lovely doggo.
Yeah, little Cocker Spaniel. Aww. Those pretty eyes. They say she needs some mango frequency in her life. Hell yeah.
The mango frequency.
Also, I'm getting empath vibes from Cathy.
I happen to be an empath myself.
Yeah, me too. Oh my God. So many things in common.
Yeah, she's an empath and she's also a entrepreneur.
I'm kind of a beast.
That's from someone who interviewed Rachel Hollis and was like the most quiet, like not meek, I don't think's the word, but she was very calm the whole interview. And she's like, I'm a beast. I was like, okay.
Is Skinny Confidential were a beast or?
No, this one was just a random one. It only had 100 views. So it's very underground podcast. So maybe it's mean for making fun of it, but too bad. So thank you, Yaga Baba. Or Jaga Baba.
Jaga Baba.
Jaga Baba Violetta.
Violetta sounds like a Romanian name. We have that name in Romania.
Yeah. I love
maybe,
it. All
maybe you are from Cathy Heller's grandparents' line.
Yeah. Are you Cathy Heller's grandma? From Romania? Everyone's saying that you said, I don't know her. Threw Kayla under the bus. It was all Kia. It is true. And it's funny. I wondered that too. Like, I was the one who basically said, hey, I found this thing, watch it, let's react to it. I was the one who made the Instagram post. I was the one who really was like, this is a problem. Cam was kind of like the innocent viewer, but then you were the one who engaged with her the most. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Interesting that she messaged me first instead of you.
Yeah. If anyone should be blamed, it should be me, honestly. But
should have been you that she contacted, but I think that I think we sometimes have a bad cop, good cop kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Maybe she was like, I'm gonna go for the good cop.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Maybe that was her tactic. Like, let me go for the nice one.
But she didn't know
she didn't know
what was
that.
coming her way.
Yeah. With more research, she will become the bad cop. Okay, here we go.
If you would be open to meeting me and Kayla on a Zoom call or just straight up on live, that's something we would absolutely be open to. We would love to have the opportunity to discuss these things and to hear where you come from and that kind of thing. Like, let me know what you think. We're just very flexible, but we would love to kind of share our point of view more extensively, if that makes sense, because I feel like our audience usually just kind of knows the stuff that we discuss on a usual basis, but I don't know if you would be aware of the background of those things and why we basically criticize them.
Hi, Camelia. Thank you for that. And you don't have to defend yourself, but I appreciate that you wanted to take time to share more. And I think
Again, like granting permission to defend yourself or not. It's like we're able to make conscious choice. Like, you don't have to like retroactively say, oh, you don't have to respond to me. It's like, I'm choosing to respond to you.
I'm also not defending myself. I'm just, I'm just saying, okay, we're talking. Let's talk,
Yeah, and you said, I hope we're not overly harsh. And I agree. I said the same thing, essentially. Like, yeah, I know it's hard to hear stuff like that. I appreciate you being a good sport about it, whether or not she really is. I beg to differ. But, like, I get it. It's not nice. I get it. But I'm also, again, taking responsibility for that and going, yeah, well, I know I'm not nice. So yeah. I think it's worth it to be mean in these cases to get the message out appropriately.
Yeah.
So again, she's like, you don't have to defend yourself. Like, yeah, well, thanks. Thank you, Grandmaster of all feelings. Like, I don't
Thanks
need
for
the
letting me
permission.
know.
Yeah, thank you.
I can actually speak to you. Okay.
Yeah.
understand. I also can feel when I think something is like, kind of makes me feel, So I get it. And maybe we will. I'll think about it. Thank you for that opportunity. I have 3 little kids and I have so much on my calendar, but I'll definitely think about it. And yeah, my grandparents are from Romania and I grew up with them playing Romanian music and making Romanian food, and it's really cool. All my grandparents are Jewish. I don't know if you are, but we are. And that's nice to have that beautiful culture in your life. And just a little bit more about me for whatever it's worth. I was a world religion major in college, and then I went. And then after college, I spent a semester living in Spain, which was really cool. And then I went to Jerusalem, and I thought I was going to be there for like a summer. And I stayed in Jerusalem for 3 years, and I studied all this beautiful wisdom. And then I came to LA and studied at UCLA. They have like a mindfulness center, and I learned a lot about meditation. And so, yeah, I've definitely benefited from seeking, whatever is quote unquote self-development. And I've had Deepak Chopra on my show and Marianne Williamson, and it's been an amazing journey.
That's not what I would think is peak mindfulness people. Those are charlatans.
Criticized. Or have we criticized Marianne Williamson? Or have I criticized her? Because I spoke about Gabby Bernstein's book in which she talked about Marianne Williamson's book, because that's how you put a book in a book. Like, that's a new kind of style of authoring.
Mm-hmm. Plagiarizing, essentially.
No. It's I thought it was a sponsored book of sorts, because she was kept on pushing that. Like, she wasn't plagiarizing, she was just promoting.
Yeah, isn't Gabby Bernstein, doesn't she consider herself the Marianne Williamson of her generation?
Yeah, she was a big student of Marianne Williamson.
Okay.
And this was all about, oh my God, the spirituality thing takes this to the next level. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, you know, you already know. But
And Deepak
yeah,
Chopra is not someone I revere as like he's highly regarded in that world, but in my opinion, he's another charlatan, to be honest. Like, he promotes a lot of schemes and scams. He's very, anti-vaccine, which I'm against. And I think he raises a lot of red flags himself. So I'm not impressed by that.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the names, I was like, oh God. I'm glad you didn't say Tony Robbins, but it's, still pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, she's in the same, world as Rachel Hollis. Like, she interviewed her before Toiletgate happened, and I did a whole video about it. So she's not like very far away from any of these people. It's not like, oh, I'm a religion major, and so therefore I have more, I have a higher pedestal to be on. Like, you're in the same, sludge as all these other people, in my opinion, especially those two.
There's no religion called manifesting.
Yeah, manifesting abundance to build an empire.
We could consider it a religion now, but
Yeah, and she talks, and she's going to talk about, I think, or maybe that was the only time she mentions it, but being Jewish, and it's like, okay, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Like, wonderful. I'm glad that you have that.
She's just trying to share her story so that I just drop my guard and go like, oh, okay.
A fellow member of my community. I guess I shouldn't have opened my mouth. It's like,
and I guess I'm just a bit more dead inside than she expected. Because my reaction was like, oh wow, yeah, we have things in common, great. So are you gonna do the criticism or what?
So anyways, about that interview, what do you say? Yeah, I think this is part of the emotional manipulation, at least the attempt to emotionally manipulate. Like, oh, find the commonalities between you and your enemy, It's like, okay, you did it, but it still doesn't change. Like, let's talk about the actual, if you want to defend yourself, as she's, seeming like she doesn't want to do, but basically obviously does. Let's talk about the content of what we said. The $10 million house mortgage text screenshot that she was discussing. Like, let's talk about that. That's what we want to talk about. Not about your Jewish faith, not about your Romanian grandmother, not about your time in college. Like, that has nothing to do with that one thing that we criticized about her.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. We'll get into some of this.
Yes.
We'll definitely get into some of it.
Yes. We have 2 more of these whole screenshot things.
Oh, yeah. Everybody just buckle up.
Yeah. There you go.
And I wake up every day wanting to share like more of that resonance and love and wholeness in the world. And one thing that I learned when I was in Israel, and I was learning and like really just like stewing in all of this beauty, I learned that love is really and truly, it's just a gift. Love is something you give away. Love is unconditional. Love is something you give for no reason. If you love someone for a reason, then when the reason isn't there, you might not love them. But if you just love them for no reason, then you love them. It's not the reason you love, it's them. And so I really do feel like I just love everyone. And I tend to assume the best in people because I really do feel people are coming from the best place. And so that's really why I wanted to reach out. And I'm glad we got to chat today.
So if you guys didn't quite catch that, love is very good. It's love when you give it and when you receive it. And I also give love and receive love, and there's love all around, and like, yeah, lots of love.
The thing is, like, if she really thought that, like, if you are gonna put your money where your mouth is, why don't you have your conferences be $5 a person, so you could have the most people possible to spread love to more than 10 rich people who can afford $10,000 at a luxury mansion for the weekend. Like, if that's truly what you want, you just want to meet a bunch of people and spread love and kindness, why do such small exclusive groups? Now she'll say, well, I have a podcast that's free. Wonderful. But could you, again, like my criticism in the original piece was like, couldn't you take $9 million and buy a home and take $1 million and spread love across the world because that's what's so important to you? It almost makes it worse that you're taking $10 million for your home, but your true desire in life is to spread love and kindness. Why are you putting such a high price tag on it? And it just, again, like, how do you...
Listen, don't overthink it.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
I just wonder these things.
I know, right? Like you think, but doesn't this sound a bit like someone is high on all sorts of things?
Yes.
And you're just there, like feeling each other, being like, oh my god, the love, and like
It's
like you gotta be
sexy.
high for this conversation. I would not have this conversation sober.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like very much
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you.
I love you too.
back and forth. She's
Yeah,
like,
you don't do that without substances. It just that doesn't come to you like that. You know,
yeah.
when you're waking up in the morning, you're like, oh my god.
This gives me like EDM vibes. Like you're at a festival, you're watching your favorite DJ, you're like, I just love everybody. I just love it. Just a wave of crashing on me. Oh my god, I love you. That's what it feels
exactly. You gotta be drunk, or you gotta be on shrooms or like some kind of weed for it, or acid or something. Maybe Cathy was on acid that morning. Who knows? You
Who's
know,
to say?
I'm not judging. I love shrooms.
And maybe she's just high on life, but that's not my way to deal with the world. And good for her that she's figured out a way to like live without being completely cynical. But not everyone's there, and I'm not there, so can't relate. Sorry.
I mean, if I had a house that was $10 million, I probably would spend most days high and
Pretty
just
chill.
enjoying life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I want to be relatable.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cathy, for responding, and thank you for sharing some of your story. I definitely feel like there's a few things that we have in common, and I'm not Jewish. I am a Christian Orthodox, but I don't subscribe to any religion. So, yeah, I also went to Spain and I speak fluent Spanish, so there's that too. That's nice to feel like there's some common ground here. I would absolutely love the opportunity to speak to you someday, because I feel like you are coming from a good place, and I would love to share, and I'm sure that Kayla would too. We would love to share just what are the reasons why we have this ginormous distrust for self-help, because there's lots of things that are extremely problematic from where we stand and from how we see things, and I would love to share those, and I would love to hear what you think, and I would love for you to share more about what your experience has been, and perhaps you get to change our mind, or perhaps we just never find any common ground, and that would be fine too. I don't think there will be anything particularly bad about having a healthy exchange.
Okay, so again, like prompting her, like, okay, let's do this, on a public platform. And then she responds through text this time. You are right. Could be really cool. I have about 40 million downloads for my podcast, so maybe we'll have it as a conversation on my show. I think even this back and forth today, people would grow so much from. People probably would have thought my response to you would be to block or be upset with you. Okay, again, like she very much wants people to know, and us specifically, she's a good person. She doesn't do what other people would expect. She goes above that. She's above.
She's not like other self-help gurus.
She's not like other gurus. She doesn't talk about abundance and manifestation, except in her Instagram bio and on her website and on her her videos. But she's different, okay? She's trustworthy. But I have meditated so many hours and fallen so in love with humans and really love this world. There's no way I would ever have that reaction. I love unconditionally. I truly mean it. It's like, okay, we get it. We get it.
She was still tripping at that point.
I guess so. Jesus. To me, this is why I'm so passionate about what I do. Okay, cool. And then Cam responded, absolutely agree. We have definitely been blocked a couple of times. I genuinely appreciate your response, and you seem like a really genuine person. Kissing her ass there, Cam. It's okay. It's all right. It's all
Sorry,
right.
but what about her loving me so much? Like,
You're like, I love you too. Thank you for saying that. Okay, sorry. I would be more than happy to come on your show or whatever works. And then she said, thank you, Cam. I might not be the coolest girl in school. Oh my God. And then she said she's 43, right? Or 47 or 43. Do you remember?
40 something. I don't remember.
40 something. Someone asked how old she was. She said she's 40 something. I might not be the coolest girl in school or the thinnest or the most gorgeous, but I have a very genuine heart and truly want the whole world to feel good. That's fucking rich. I'm sorry. Again, like just based on like classism, like that's fucking rich coming from someone who has a $10 million house. You just want everyone to feel good. Well, how about you help spread the wealth? How about you help like, you know, fix the wealth gap in America instead of charging people $10,000 for luxury resort fucking bullshit meditation sessions. Ugh, come on, stop it. Okay. And then she says, okay, I'll circle back about the show. I'll tell my producer, kissy face. And then Cam says, okay, thank you so much. Can't wait. And then, does it play at the end?
Not sure, but it's definitely in the next one.
Okay. So anyways, that's that. Okay, let's go to number 2. Anything more to say about that, Cam, before I move to the next one?
No, let's move on because there's some real stuff that is about to unfold. So
Yeah, now we're sharing book titles and things.
this is on day 2.
Okay, day 2. Okay.
Hi, Camellia. I just wanted to check in with you. You know, yesterday I had only watched the first 3 minutes of that video, and then we had this beautiful talk, and I was like telling my team, I'm like, that could be so cool to like hear where they're coming from, and I'd be so happy to like make that space. And so just to sort of move forward on that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch a little more of the video, and watched a few more minutes of it, and I thought, oh my gosh, like some of this, I mean, if we're being really honest, it doesn't feel like constructive criticism. Some of it just feels like just really mean things that I don't think I would say about anybody. So I don't know. I feel like I don't know how. I'm just trying to process like how we would have that conversation, because then my audience would see that video, and I don't know if it just got cut off, but I said I just don't know if like I always want to put like the highest and best good stuff in the world, and I do want to have, I agree with you, I think there should be a place to have really solid, important conversations and like really like get to the bottom of things. And I really do feel like, you know, I teach people how to start side hustles, by the way. My show is called Don't Keep Your Day Job, because I teach people how to start a business, and thank God we've done that for thousands of people. And I teach people how to start podcasts, which is really concrete and tactical. But I'm so happy to like dig into it. I just feel like some of that stuff, it doesn't feel positive. It doesn't feel like it's serving a purpose, that's all. And just from one person to another, I just felt like sharing that from my heart.
So now, obviously, we find out that she didn't fucking watch it yet.
She didn't watch, but then she spoke to the team, and the team was like, "Are you fucking nuts?"
Don't bring these people on, which I get. It is a stupid move for her in a way, but like, I thought you loved everybody. I thought you understood everybody. Everyone's perspectives are
the producer
valid.
She's like, I love everybody, but I'm gonna hire a team that doesn't, because I need them, to not love everyone for me.
Yeah. Should we? I know I don't want to take too much time away from like the juicy stuff, but should we watch a little bit of the segment just to see what we said that was so mean?
Sure.
Okay. Because I also think, again, like I really think I was the protagonist in this one, or no, the antagonist of the whole situation. And Cam was like the passive, person kind of just going with what I was saying and saying like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Or, okay, who is she? What does she do? Like, you weren't being mean from what I remember at all. So I don't know. That's it. I think I cut it on its own.
Well, I think I tend to have reactions to all of these. So probably my reactions and also yours, But I think she definitely contacted me because she thought it would be easier to persuade me.
Yeah. Okay, the whole thing is 35 minutes. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but just to get our temperature of how bitchy we were. And again, this is 3 months ago, September 5th, 2022. And the description says, self-help guru Cathy Heller is upset she lost followers on Instagram after she posted a screenshot from her mortgage broker that she can afford a $10 million house. Cry us a river. She thinks the haters are just living in a scarcity mindset. I stand by that 100%. Sorry.
Me too. I stand by everything. I'm not taking it back.
Yeah. And I did say I agree that I am mean, and I think it's worth it to be mean to get the point across. And it is genuinely how I feel inside. So it's only fair to express that outwardly as well.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Speaking of making money and being greedy, I think that leads us perfectly into this next and final topic, the new topic of the stream. Now, Cam has not seen this, and I don't have a whole lot of backstory of this person other than they are, part of the self-help development. I have a mastermind for $10,000. I made $1 million last month by dreaming big and being a badass boss babe, and you can do it too. I'll teach you how person. She interviewed Rachel Hollis before. She's interviewed Dave Hollis, and she's sort of known, at least from when I've posted about her before, as the crying personal development leader person's coach, because she tends to cry during her podcast interviews. And I remember she interviewed Dave after PancakeGate happened, Dave Hollis. After PancakeGate happened, he was getting slammed in the press, aka us. And
we are
the press in this case. Yeah, we are the mainstream media in these worlds. And Dave was like, coming on all like, I'm trying to sell my book, but everyone hates me. And she was like, she was crying. She's like, you are so brave. And I was like, oh God. So that's been my experience with her.
She should have joined them in the car, when they're trying to sell the book by crying. Yeah. Or the other day when you streamed and they were trying to sell their $5,000 one day event with tears. That was also fantastic.
I just want to help people.
It's only 5,000, you guys. I worked all morning on this.
I had to export a PDF, you guys. It took me 8 years to figure that out. So that's the vibe of this woman.
Funny.
And this is the one right here.
We are.
Her name's Cathy Heller, the one with the glasses. And then the other woman is the woman she's interviewing, Danielle Canty, who's part of the Boss Babe brand, which we should talk about at some point. We should still.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear your thoughts on... We might have to play the violin music for this at some point. But this is
get it from the meal prep guy.
yeah. I'll take his. King. And basically, it's about her saddest day, or her she's gonna complain for a second.
One of the days where I lost the most followers is when I celebrated a huge win. I posted on my Instagram a text from my mortgage broker that I can buy a $10 million house. So there's a fear of dim it down. You might bother people, because boy, does that then sabotage your success if you feel that by being more successful, you will hurt other people and I talked to Priyanka Chopra about this too, that she's like, we've been conditioned by the patriarchy that there's not enough for women in general. So when we see women rising, sometimes we kind of animosity rather than no, that's amazing. She's paving the way.
There's two types of people. There's a type of person who sees that and is like, wow, if they can do it, so can I, right? Because they live in abundance. No one's taking that away from them. No one's saying that they can buy a house of that amount. it's actually an example of, wow, if she can do it, so can I. Other type of person who is, and this is where we come into feedback loops. Our thoughts create our feelings, which create our actions, right? Well, those people were never going to try in the first place. And how wonderful that you've cleared your space of them, because they were probably always going to, like, you know, dampen your own vibration anyway. And so I think what's really a lesson to all of us as women is, like, you get to celebrate yourself. You should unapologetically do that, and know that people like Cathy and I are going to be cheering you the hell on, because when
one of the days where I lost.
Okay, she got cut off there. First of all,
Oh my God.
I want to throw up. Hold on.
Disgusting. Wait, there's vibrations here too.
we are all
I have a lot of
vibrators.
things to say. I don't know where to start. Okay,
Let's pause
I
for
want
a
to start with one of the less. Sorry, this comes up in the conversation with her, because when we were like, ugh, like disgusted, we were disgusted at that vibration point that the other woman was making.
Yeah.
And Cathy uses that to say, like, oh, you were putting your fingers in your mouth and you're like blah blah blah. And I'm like, did you, like, are you blind? Like, we're reacting to the vibration comment.
And her whole thing, I mean, it is like, you know, like throw up, like, oh, I have a $10 million house and people aren't happy about it. It's like, yeah, to me, I do want to throw up by hearing that. Like, the whole thing makes me want to throw up and gag, because it's ridiculous. Like, good for you.
But
That's it.
I just found it interesting that out of everything we said, she took the one thing we said about the other person.
Yeah.
That as like the leading way into the conversation. Let's go to the conversation. You'll see in a second.
Okay.
She mentions it.
And we talk, I mean, this is, like I said, that was us reacting for 4 minutes, and it's just a 35-minute piece. So, like, there may be more things that I've said that, you know, were horrible and mean, bullying, and please feel free to watch it all and you know, critique it more. But that was what I remember being the big gist of it. I know we go off into looking at her luxury resort, and you see that she has a lemon tree, and we talk about that for a little bit, and look at some of her offerings. But I think that was the crux of, or not the crux of it, but that was the meaty part of the critique, from my memory at least. So, but there is more.
Yeah,
so
then the rest
don't
of
take
it
our
was
word
more
for
of a
it.
deep dive, and we were just kind of looking at who she is and what she does and what she offers, etc.
Yeah. So we were on the second one. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so, okay, so back to old Cathy. Old Cathy, not old. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Here we go. All right. So now she's saying, just to recap everybody, she's saying, okay, well, I thought about bringing you on the show. Then I talked to my producers. Then I watched the piece, and it was really mean, and it wasn't constructive, and I would never say that stuff to anybody. And yeah. Okay, that's where we left off.
Hi, Cathy. Thanks for getting back to me. Yeah, I understand. Sorry, I thought you had already watched the video, but no, we're not. We're not very positive. We go against toxic positivity, and I would actually encourage you to buy this book. It's a book that talks about the dangers of this toxic positivity, and we're not about that. We like to go for healthy negativity. I think the purpose that it serves is that it raises awareness to the self-help tactics and things like that. And I know you don't think that you are in the self-help space, but you certainly are, considering, you know, you're friends with people like Jenna Kutcher, Mel Robbins. Those people are very much the pillars of the self-help industry, alongside, you know, Tony Robbins, who is very, very problematic, alongside Rachel Hollis, who is also very problematic. So, you know, it's definitely a space. So I understand if you don't want to talk to us. It's not an easy position to be in, to be honest, because I think both me and Kayla know very well what our problem with the industry is and what our criticism will be. So I appreciate that it's, you know, probably easy. I was saying I just appreciate if it's easier for you not to talk to us at all. I understand, you know, it's up to you, but I would have loved to hear where you come from, you know, and if it's negative, it doesn't make it false. I'll say that.
Damn, Cam. I appreciate that response. Hearing it again.
Thank you.
I think you nailed that, to be totally honest. Coming in with the truth and the facts.
Yeah. I was also trying to just make the point that she's taking the easy way out, but okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, we're not saying that we're not, bitching at you, or we're better than you, or we're right and you're wrong. Like, I think we took responsibility fairly well and go, yeah, it was harsh. Let's talk about why or how we can like see each other better perspective. And now it's like, well, you're mean, so no, I'm not doing it. It's like, okay, well then fuck you. Like, all right. Okay, so this is the third and final one. This is the longest one of all three.
And this is fucking intense. I'm just gonna warn you guys, because I got a little triggered. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna like hold back here.
No holding back. No holding back, Cam. Okay. Here we go.
Oh no, I totally know what you mean about toxic positivity. It's obvious that that's what you're talking about when you talk about toxic positivity. I just mean some of the ways you guys are like sticking your fingers in your mouth and you're like, I'm gonna vomit, and ripping me apart as a person. I'm saying that's just, not nice, right? It's like, it's one thing if you write it, you write a blog or you go on video and you say, this really bothers me and this issue of talk, but like, you don't know me personally. And there's a lot of really mean, like really just things I wouldn't say to anyone, right? That's what I mean. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I don't really officially know. I mean,
and I think this is exactly what we did. We went on live and said, we are bothered by this. Like, exactly what is it that she thinks is different from what she's describing to what we did?
And I never said, Cathy and I went to high school together, and I always thought she was a bitch. Like, it was very clear that, and I think I've sort of stopped because I think it's obvious now that I don't know any of these people. I'm just reacting. But maybe that is important because I used to always say, I don't know these people in real life. I am just going based on what they've put out. Like, I've sort of stopped doing that because it seems obvious, but maybe it needs to be done again.
Like, also, why is that relevant? I don't care that I don't know her. I know what, like, or I'm talking about something that she's posted on the internet that I can see in front of me.
Unpublic,
like, I don't need to know her, like, and her life story for it. Like, I can just express an opinion without having what am I supposed to only talk about people that are friends with me? Because they would hate it.
Yeah. And again, I think she really has, it seems like, obviously this is me guessing, but a control issue, because she's now saying, well, you should have done it this way or that way or this way, and then it would be okay. It's like, we don't have to listen to you. We are giving you our time to discuss this, or you are, I didn't much, but like, we're giving you our time to talk about this, to maybe hash it out and do something. If you don't want to do that, fine. But you can't say, hey, you should have done this as a blog post and said this and this and this instead. It's like, you don't get to dictate that to us or to anyone. And that's what you signed up for as an entrepreneur.
Hey, you should have done a blog post and said that I was amazing.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nicer?
Yeah, and then I would definitely not message you. So
yeah, so I don't know, but anyways, okay. So those were the two at the top. Okay, then Cam says that was about the frequency or vibration, something the other person said, not you. That is something we hear a lot, and it's complete pseudoscience. I appreciate that you are hurt, but we actually didn't make any comments about you as a person. We spoke about a piece of content you posted on Instagram and why we think it's tone deaf. It is. It isn't nice to flex a $10 million house on Instagram when millions of people suffer in poverty because of inflation or because of a pandemic. It isn't nice to charge, okay, I think you meant to say charge, but it isn't nice to charge extremely high prices to offer advice that might or might not work. And also, just to point out, in her bio that is now updated, it says, change the frequency. So she's also embracing the frequency.
She's embraced it.
She's got a vibrator now.
We applaud you, Cathy, for embracing our criticism.
Yes. Did I ever play this? Wait. Let's see. Did I go back too far?
Me personally, and there's a lot of really mean, like really just things I wouldn't say to anyone, right? That's what I mean.
So I actually skipped ahead. So there was a part that she says before you responded. So sorry.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so she thinks we know what she's talking about. Okay, here we go.
Anyway, I was just wanted to be strong enough to say that stuff. It feels terrible. I've never in my whole life, and probably not since maybe I was a kid, had somebody kind of rip me apart, and I just felt like, oh, you don't even know me. You might find out Cathy Eller is a really good person, and we were judging her and saying mean things about her. But anyway, you might not see that. Or maybe you do, but I'm glad we got to connect, and maybe eventually you will see who I really am, but it's okay if you don't. It's okay.
Is it?
It's more extreme than I remember.
It's okay, definitely.
The mango frequency.
Yeah. I mean, she's incredibly insecure and it sucks, but like you're going to give this person $10,000 to teach you how to run your business when this person hasn't heard one negative thing about herself since she was a child and she's 43? What?
But she's definitely a good person, so yeah.
She's a good person, and if I would never ever go to her. I mean, I was never go anyways. But if I was on the fence, like, should I go to this person, listen to their advice? Oh, you've never heard a negative thing about yourself, and this is your perspective on life. Like, how am I going to grow from that? Like, I don't know.
Listen, it doesn't matter what happens to you and your business after you pay money. Like,
yeah. Well, one person made $250,000, so no one can ever criticize me again or ever.
And that's definitely true 100% because we saw their tax return. So
yeah, it's insane that these people like make so much money, allegedly, millions of dollars, and cannot handle any sort of anything, like any entrepreneurial hurdle.
Yeah.
She's not freaking fine. I agree, Laura.
You're not freaking fine.
Okay, so then she says the thing, and then you send a screenshot that showed the prices of her class or something. I can't see, it's a little blurry, but it's $297, and there's another version or another thing for $2,997. Our favorite, ending in 7.
97.
Yep. And then, so then Cam says, it isn't nice to talk about abundance when the system is made a certain way so that many people fail. Cam, once again, you are coming in with the fire, with the heat, with the truth.
Thank you.
That Cathy needs to hear, I think. Or maybe
sorry,
not.
But when you have a thing that is $3,000, you're just, I'm sorry, what exactly is the value that you offer that is like a quarter of a year in a British university? Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy over here in America. Like, shit is so expensive depending, like, they just charge whatever. And apparently people pay it for these coaches and these personal development. I mean, everyone here feels like inadequate, I feel like. And they also see all these people flexing on, Instagram constantly. And you're like, okay, if I just listen to them, I'll be like that. So I think that's the culture for sure of like, okay, this is how the rich do it. You learn from other rich people. And it's all bullshit, but I think that's why people are willing to try, because we're so desperate to like be, taken care of. Anyways, financially at least. Okay, and then somebody responds. So let's see. So I think what you said here is fire. Oh, bye. Cam's gone.
Sorry, I'm not saying this to hurt you, but we do actually have real criticism, and you didn't address any of it. And, if you want a more researched kind of video in which we point out those things, we can do that too. Both me and Kayla have been journalists, and we have that type of background. So I'm more than happy to do that if you don't think we have a real thing to actually complain about. Because in our view, we really do. And that's why we were both super excited to speak to you, because it seemed like you were coming from a good place in this conversation. And we thought, perhaps if we have like a conversation with her, like she will see our point of view and why we think the way we think and why we're so sort of mean, if you like, about people who do these tactics.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. I totally get this point of view. And I also have a different point of view. Have you read Deepak Chopra's newest book on abundance?
No, we didn't. We fucking would never. Unless it was to review, which, you know, maybe that is a one to review. Did you read Deepak Chopra's book on abundance? No, absolutely not.
That's where she's proving my points. Like, not even asking, and she's proving it to me.
God. Another guy, she probably still exactly his tactics, which is have retreats that cost thousands of dollars, become a certified Deepak Chopra coach to make money. That's the same tactic that Jay Shetty uses, the same tactic that Gabby Bernstein uses. They all use the same fucking, you know, system to get you to spend cash with them, for them to tell you, like, you got this, girlfriend. You can do it.
Oh, you can totally do it. That would be $3,000.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I've been changed forever. Anyways, okay, so then I'm asking, did she say more? In our text messages, you're like, oh yeah, she said more. She said more, baby.
If you read it, but you might find it interesting. He was on my podcast, and I loved his conversation about abundance and how the universe, like the actual universe, is made abundantly. Like every acorn is the promise of thousands of forests. And I come from Holocaust survivors. So the way I was raised, my grandparents came from nothing. And then even still, after losing and having their parents murdered and all this stuff, like really, like, talk about being in like the worst situation, losing all their money, their home was taken, they taught me that inside of us, we have so many resources, we can do so much. And so everyone who's been on my podcast.
Okay, just for a second there. How would your grandparents feel if you were upset because more people didn't love that you bought a $10 million home? That's exactly what we're talking about. People in situations that are out of their control would feel probably badly about themselves because of your success. Now, it's not that you have the success, it's the way that you need the validation. And it's obvious this woman needs validation from everyone on the earth that she loves.
Yeah, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable that she brought her grandparents into this again, because like I have already moved on from like the love bombing and I could feel sorry for me. My grandparents were Romanian like you. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and saying that they were Holocaust survivors and stuff, like that's kind of like almost, I'm sorry to say it because, you know, I'm sorry to say it, but it feels like she's asking for pity there.
Of course. And it's not even about her. Like, that is horrendous and tragic and, you know, nothing that I would want to experience for myself, for my grandparents, and I can't relate. But at the same time, what does this have to do with anything that we're discussing? We're talking about one piece of content that was like a 30-second clip, and you being a part of the entire thing that we constantly critique. So
yeah, she's defending her value system, and that's fair enough. But we actually do have criticism against that value system, and this is what she's not getting. And she's trying to like, or she's getting it, but like she's trying to preach. I'm not sure. She's definitely preachy. She gets preachy in this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And it, again, like, you know, a Holocaust survivor without help from a community, without, you know, financial support after, you know, surviving that, it wouldn't be possible for them to tie their bootstraps up and then have a $10 million house by believing in abundance. You know, it's just ridiculous that she even brings this point up that Deepak Chopra's book about acorns relates and would be applicable to my grandparents going through the Holocaust. So
not to mention, if we're gonna talk about the Holocaust, let's talk about the Holocaust. Like, who exactly manifested to be a victim of the Holocaust? I'm sorry, were those people sitting there manifesting, oh yeah, I want to be at Auschwitz?
They just didn't change their frequency.
Yeah, didn't frequent.
And I say that
abundance
as a joke, but it's really serious. That's exactly like what we're talking about. It's like it only works when it works, and it doesn't fucking work 99% of the time. But when you're like confirmation bias or survivorship bias, when you're like, well, it worked for me, so it should work for everyone else, and everyone who doesn't have what I have is not doing it right, it's ridiculous. And it's so funny that she can't see that she's literally going to use it as a defense for her out of touch beliefs.
Yeah, she's definitely not saying, oh yeah, maybe you had a point there. Like, she's not saying that at all.
Yeah. Anyways,
The mango frequency.
It's my new favorite clip. Okay. Here we go.
Like Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks, he's a billionaire, but people don't know that he grew up in public housing. He grew up below the poverty line. And it's such an inspiring story because it was like his creativity and his enthusiasm. And what I want people to see is how much is inside of them, this immaterial, the resourcefulness. And then what I help people to see is like, there's all these really simple ways we can start to test things in the world, to validate a concept, to get our first sale. One of the girls in our program, she was able to start making this vegan corned beef, and she started to test it by going in front of the grocery store and having people sample it. She wound up building a business out of her little kitchen. And it's amazing how much money she's now making and how it's changed her whole family's life. This podcasting class, I'm with them.
Okay, wait, was that another one? Or was that the same one?
I responded to something here, very, very snarky, but...
Okay, so after that last one, before this one, Cam says, I'm sure that the universe or the plant is so good to plants, but we live in a society with political systems put in place to keep people oppressed. Yeah, about the acorns. Oh, that's good. Okay, and now so she's responding to that. I think it already like sort of started though for some reason, but whatever.
Life. This podcasting class, I'm with them, right? I know a lot of people offer online classes where it's just like pre-recorded videos, but in my class, I only take a small group and then we meet on Zoom and I coach each person through the actual steps of building their podcast. And it's amazing. We stay with them. I stay with them personally every single week on Zoom for hours, and then they build their podcast. And it's so cool what people have been able to create and how much money they've made, how it's changed their life. It's amazing.
Okay, and you're handsomely compensated for your time on Zoom, Cathy. Like, I don't understand these people. Rachel Hollis is the same way. Heidi Powell's the same way. It's like, I help people. Okay, and you're paid for it. What do you want? A fucking trophy? You want a Nobel Peace Prize because you charge people to teach them how to do a podcast? Who gives a fuck? You psychopath? Like, I'm sorry. I don't understand it. Like how these people really think they are world changers by running a business. What are you talking about?
I mean, I just also feel a bit like, and I obviously, like, I was getting into it, so I didn't necessarily have a lot of points, like all of my points. But one of the things that I get bothered with when people, or maybe I do have a point about this actually later, but one of the things that bothers me is that they come at you with all these success stories. Like, did you know about this woman who did this? And, you know, I helped her, blah, blah. But how many hundreds didn't make it? Yeah. You're not going to mention those. Like, obviously, you're not going to mention those. So I don't actually know your numbers to be like, okay, maybe this is worth it because, you know, there's like a 90% of them actually do make it in their business, and like only 10% don't. I don't know any of those numbers. I have no data. So all I'm hearing is a success story here. But what about the 100, 200, 300? I don't know how many who didn't actually get a single dollar out after this.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's because they didn't get to the frequency that they needed to be in abundance. They gave up on themselves. It's not the course. It's them as people who didn't love enough and do enough for themselves. So
they didn't meditate for 20 minutes. They only meditated for 19.
And that's another privilege. Again, like people who say like, oh, I meditated for hours and hours. It's like, okay, not everyone can do that, number one. So instead of making it seem like, well, that's the reason for my success, maybe it's like, I had the privilege of time to be able to travel to Europe, to be able to travel to Jerusalem, to experience these things, to build up my network, to do all these things. And I'm appreciative of it. And I will love to help people along the way get to where I got, as opposed to, I'm going to take my expertise and charge a pretty penny for it, and then look down on people who criticize me at any point. It's like, it's even like I don't know. It's been a while since we listened to this, and it's like making me more upset with time. I thought I would like calm down over time. Like, oh, whatever, who cares? It's making me more upset over time because it's like, this is she's so close to like understanding what we're trying to say. Like, she's got her grandparents, and she can, you know, she's upset. She has emotion, right? Because she's mad that we've said something negative about her. But she's not putting the fucking two pieces together and going, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. And maybe I'm just another person who's successful in capitalism. And maybe capitalism is the problem.
Yeah, and I don't think necessarily, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in Cathy's brain, but I'm going to guess that she does know. I don't think she's stupid.
No, I don't think so either.
I think she's playing dumb.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But I'm
agree.
not in her brain, and I don't know. But like, for someone to make so much money into a capitalist system, if this is true, and she made all her money herself, which is also, I don't know if it's true or not. I have no way of checking that. But if it's true and she made all her money herself, she can't be stupid. You know what I mean? Like, she knows what she's doing, but she's downplaying it. She's playing it down, in my opinion, again, just in case. Like, this is, I'm not in her brain, but
she wants to be relatable.
You're not gonna convince me that she's just dumb. She just made it like by being dumb. I don't know how. Like, okay.
I just believed. That's the thing this is sort of off topic from her specifically, but that's something I always think about. Like, if you really, really believed in the universe providing abundance to people who deserve it the most, why do you invest in traditional marketing tactics? Why does she put in her comments like put a heart emoji if you agree with this, like engagement tactics and all that? Why would you bother? If it's truly meant to be for you, it'll be for you. Just change your frequency and trust and have faith. Why do they have to go through these hoops where they are putting you in ClickFunnels? Like, that's the thing I never understand. It's all bullshit, because if you truly believed, like, that's how I used to think, like, okay, I'm not going to try. I'm just going to let it come to me. And nothing fucking came to me because it's stupid.
Oh, yeah, attracted, right? Attracted into your life.
They're going to knock on my door and like, we need to hire you for $1 million. Like, I believed that shit. And it's not true. And they don't believe it because they do all the slimy tactics that all the other online marketers do. So tell me how you truly are showing your faith by investing, probably thousands of dollars in Facebook ads. Give me a break.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, I'm not saying Cathy does that necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if she does.
There's people who invest a lot, like 30 grand worth of ads on Facebook.
Yeah, wouldn't people the right people, the right vibe people just show up at your door like miraculously? Why do you have to have an Instagram? Why do you have to have a course that costs money? Wouldn't they just want to pay you because that's how enlightened you all are? Give me a break. Okay, sorry. All right, here we go.
I want to tell you one more thing because this one is so inspiring. There was this woman who was working in a motel. She was working in a motel. She definitely, was an immigrant, and she has 2 kids, single mom, and her son had autism. And her daughter said, "Mom, we need more resources for him." And she was like, "Well, I'm already working 2 jobs." They had no money, very, very, very little money. And the daughter said, "What if you started teaching people how to make sourdough bread?" And so this woman realized that she had this skill where she was really good at making sourdough bread. She started filming herself on her daughter's phone, and they put it on Udemy, and she made $85,000 teaching people sourdough bread. And then she made a second class called Extreme Sourdough, and then she wound up making $200,000. And it's like, I have so many of these stories, and it's amazing.
Any comments on that story?
I think the next 30 messages from me probably explain it.
Okay. Cam says, I really understand that these people do exist, but I don't think you're hearing me. For every person who managed to break through the system, there are probably millions who didn't because it's made that way on purpose. Amen, sister. The tragic stories of people being in prison for weed possession when weed is now legal in most places, it doesn't matter if those people think abundantly. They are kept in prison for a very small thing because of the political system. Yes, agreed. Okay, and then she sends you 2 more voice memos.
When I was growing up, my mom was suicidal and she was in and out of a mental institution. She was depressed and my parents had gotten divorced and we had very little money. And I was clear why my mom was so depressed. You know, my dad left for another woman and we didn't have anything. And she felt she gave up the best years of her life. But not only that, my mom was the most talented one in her senior class. She was the star of the play. And I felt like my mom had all these gifts like dying inside of her. And when I grew up, I wanted to help people who felt so unseen and so invisible. And especially because my grandparents came from such horror, it was like I understood that people can feel so like they don't feel seen at all. And so I wrote this book, Don't Keep Your Day Job. And I do this podcast to help people figure out, like, how can you stop working for someone else and build your own dream? Like, how could you figure out what are the simple steps to test something, to start to see if you can make.
Again, she doesn't, I agree with the comments here. She doesn't address anything that you just said. Nothing. You just said the system is corrupt. That's what we're mad about. She's like, my mom had problems. It's like, okay, so what?
Well, don't worry, she's gonna bring in something real cringe in a sec. I think it's this right now, if not in a bit.
Like in 90 days, you could come up with something that you could give, that you could make, that you could do. We all have so many gifts, and I break it down into 5 different categories. Like, you can make something, like you can make cake pops, you can make you can make like so many things people make, right? Dresses. We have this woman, Takti, as I told you, from Pakistan. She makes clothing, but you can make something, you could teach something, I have like 5 different categories, right? You could do a service for someone, like organizing houses, or you could be cutting hair. Like, there's 5 different categories. And then I say, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to test it. And then you're going to get feedback. And then you're going to try to price it. And then you're going to scale it. And it's amazing what people have done through going through these programs. And everyone deserves to be able to get paid to do what they love on their own terms.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay, then Cam says, I understand. I think there would be a more productive way to have this conversation, but I also understand you don't want to have it, so we're in a conundrum. Yes, we are. We are in quite the conundrum. Oh, God. Look how many there are. Okay, we're almost, so 2 minutes left of this. So not too long. Okay, allegedly. I don't know how. Is there more? Whatever.
I think this is the last one.
Okay.
Is this 3, yes?
This is 3, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the last one.
Okay.
You're saying, and I think what I'm saying is, I've been doing this podcast for 5 years, right? And we have 40 million downloads. I've talked to now hundreds of thousands of people. And so I think what's happened for me is I have so much evidence of people. I got a note yesterday from a person who was like, my late husband had committed suicide. I was like miserable, like this happened, then I found your show, then I grew in this way, I started a business. Like, I have so much evidence of people who have really and truly found incredible ways to offer their gifts to the world and feel seen and contribute. And I can't unsee what I've seen. You know, when Damon John was on my show, he told me like he was a Black man growing up, and in his city, like everyone was either in prison or dead. And he decided he was working at Long John Silver's, like making no money.
Every example she uses is a minority, like a person of color too. Like, she made it a point to specifically, every example she gives is like, or someone who's got some sort of, ailment issue. Like, the mom has a daughter who's got autism. Like, she's making it very clear, like, no, this is not just for white women. This is for all these varieties. And I just find it very difficult to believe that people who can afford $10,000, in-person courses are not middle-class white women I just find it very difficult to believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the MO of the industry, basically, the customer base.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going on. So
he told me, like, I decided to like start, I wanted to sew, and he started making hats and started like going to like, he had the resourcefulness to start walking into places and like selling his hats, and he got better and better at it. And eventually, within 6 years, he built a company that was making $400 million and started employing all these people in his city, and turned around and started mentoring people in his inner city, telling them, of course you can do this. And it's just that they're so, I just have had so much evidence to see what's inside of us, like the way we can roar when we get angry enough, and when we start to look at, sometimes people just don't, they're overwhelmed. They don't know the steps to take, right? They don't know what can they do to change their situation. But think about Nelson Mandela, right?
okay, I think you owe me another one because this ended, so I think there's a 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Right on the perfect time frame.
Share your thoughts while I do that.
Okay. Nelson Mandela is the tease into the next section of this, the final section. Yeah, again, like this reminds me a lot of religion, where it's like, well, this person prayed and their tumor went away. It's like, okay, but what about the 100 to 200,000 people who died of the exact same cancer this year? Did they not pray enough? I guess the answer is, yeah, they didn't. They did it wrong. Okay, well, how do I pray better? Well, I don't know. Just, believe. And then if you die, well, it's like, we didn't do it right. And if you don't die, it's like, oh, see, you did it. Perfect. See, more proof that this works. And it's just, it's the whole, like, just like I said before, it's like leap out of the airplane and build the parachute on the way down. Only people who do that are people who have a safety net at the bottom, most likely. And when you go, I don't know Cathy's financial situation, but it sounds like she had some financial security because she, said she went to Spain for 2 years. She went to Jerusalem for 3 years. She went to LA. Like, these are all places that cost money to afford to live and to visit and to, be abundant in. That doesn't just come from the air. It doesn't come from the ether. And to suggest that, everyone should just do what she's done and she's got the proof in the pudding. It's like, I'm thrilled for the people that figured it out. But again, yeah, it leaves a lot of these masses behind. And if this is all true, why don't you make this, you have $10 million already in a property, never charge money again and hold these, groups once a week for the rest of your life. And you probably would still have enough money to live and have investments and still live in your mansion. And so if you really care about this, why are you charging money for all this? That's what I don't understand. You have to pick one or the other. You can't be altruistic and perfect and overall giving of your soul and a service leader and also make millions of dollars. I know they'll tell you that that's fine and that's cool. And if you don't agree with that, then you're in a scarcity mindset. But it's just, I think, another tactic to make it okay for them to charge high prices. So that's what I have to say about that.
This situation is a red flag.
That's what Rachel has to say about that. She also says this.
Oh, okay. Cult.
I'm not saying Cathy's in a cult, but,
I don't really care what the FDA says.
I don't really care what the FDA has to say. Also,
since then, we've also healed a car.
They healed a car, everybody. Anyways, so that's that. Dave says this.
Oh, I love that sound.
I wish I had Cathy and Dave's interview. Actually, while Cam's getting her thing ready, let's watch more of the segment because I just want to double, triple check that I didn't say anything like, this person's so ugly and stupid. Because I don't remember saying that, but you never know. So we'll keep watching this to see if I say anything or Cam says anything that is so mean.
Significant. But I hate it when people go like, there's 2 types of people. I'm like, you know what? There's probably like 150,000 categories.
Losers and
Leave
winners.
me alone. Yeah. Everything is 2 types of people. The ones who understand and the haters. Like, it's just chill the fuck out. There's probably like
1,000 categories. Um, but they sound so smart and so like they have figured it out, like or well, not to me, but they sound to some people like
Yeah.
they figured it out because they can categorize people in 2 categories, like 2 whole categories.
It all boils down to 2 things. There's one
There's
thing
the
in life. It's so annoying.
and then there's the other, like, yeah, and there's life and there's death. Like, oh my god.
Which one are you? Okay. Tell me now or else.
Sorry for the rant, but like that is it's been
You're
on
so
my
fine.
mind lately. So
I like it. Go for it. Go
Yeah.
off, queen.
but like people, I feel like the self-help industry has, aside from Jenna Kutcher, who has realized, the toxic positivity and the hustle culture thing is no longer trending. She's realized it. I'll give her credit for it. She realized it. She put it in her book. She's like against morning routines. She's against toxic positivity. She's against like the hustle culture. She's all about the rest. And while it was annoying to read that book, I do appreciate that it's going against hustle culture because that is fucking awful. But the rest of the people in the self-help industry have not quite caught on to this little gem of knowledge, even though
Yeah.
Jenna has made sure to tell them. She's gone on all of the interviews to tell them about
It's
rest.
like, girlies,
But-
the messaging has
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it comes hand.
Hey, Scout Hunter Spaceman, who's here right now, I think, or was. You got a shout out on this meta version of Cringe-Fluencers. I still, so we're 6 minutes in now, 6:40. I haven't heard something crazy that we've said about her yet as a person. Like, oh, she's the worst person ever.
Hand in hand with, it's the same reason why like Andrew Tate was famous, because
And you can see too, this is her bio. This is from the other video. So this is from September. She changed her bio to now include manifesting and abundance and frequency. So before it was retreats, events, programs. It's already yours. Widen the aperture. And now it's all about frequency. Here, where is it? Where's the update? Hold on. Now it's coach and author. I help women to manifest total abundance and build an empire. Change the frequency. So just, in a couple months, that's the big change already. Just, oops. Found that sort of interesting.
he's got Bugattis, he's got money, he's got whatever.
Bugattis. I
Yeah.
love how he says that.
What color is your Bugatti?
Bugatti.
Yeah. And I feel like you can't blame people for not wanting to support you once they see very clearly you need no support. Like,
Yeah. I'm
'Cause
just
I-
looking at her home that she's posted on the internet. Sorry. I'm listening.
well, it's very pretty. I would say, are those lemons?
It says Lux Intimate Retreat September. My home. It's like, why would
Were
you-
those lemons? Are these lemons?
trees? No, they're
Are
like
those
little
lemons?
lanterns.
If those are lemons, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Why? No, they're like lanterns or something. Again, so far there's nothing bad. She's like, we're going off about lemons.
Okay.
Why? Oh God, sorry. I'm on my non-premium account. Hold on, I'll log into my other one. I can't be sold to. I'll skip ahead.
Gem of knowledge. Even
Yeah.
though Jenna has made sure.
They're like lanterns or something.
Okay.
Why?
Because like lemons are so hard to grow.
Oh. I'm sure she could hire a gardener with a $10 million house.
Yeah, but you need to have the right climate and it's very, Anyway, but I don't think lemon trees are that tall anyway. But
Yeah,
I
think she just put some.
lost it
She
for
put
a
some
second.
luxury lanterns on the trees. Can you imagine? Just a side note. Can you imagine describing your home as intimate luxe? Come to my home. It's intimate luxury.
I feel like when people would say intimate luxe, I would think a completely different thing. I'd be like, okay, I'm taking my date there.
Yeah.
Not I'm going to a retreat with 100 people. No, in intimate luxe, what I want is potentially to give head, like you know what I mean? Definitely not just to like talk about manifesting.
Well, maybe you can do both. Who knows? You never know with these things.
No, that's crossing a big line.
Well, you can join the waitlist to enter my home. I always love those, so I like to open it up to all the people who want to pay to enter my home for $10,000 for one day. No, 3 days. Okay, well. Hold on.
I feel like when was this posted?
The thing that more throw up sounds, but that is about the $10,000 price tag, not Cathy's personhood. I was talking about
one of the days
5 days ago.
I feel I don't know. Like after a pandemic, and when people are like in an energy and cost of living crisis and stuff, it just feels a bit tone deaf. Be like, look at my $10 million new luxe intimate home.
I don't know if it's rich people and or if it's self-help development people or a mix of both, but there seems to be a confusion for them of freedom of speech and undying love and support. They don't see the difference, I think, a lot of times, because people will say, oh, I told people about my $10 million luxury home and some people didn't like it. How dare you, and start to go off and go like, this is the problem with the world. Or Rachel Hollis has said since Toiletgate, she's like, we've really lost listening to celebrities' opinions. All celebrities do now is post a picture with an emoji, and we're missing out on the caption. And it's like, no one is preventing them from posting. The only thing that people are doing is saying how they feel about it. And there's no way that you can prevent someone for saying, this is a fucking piece of shit post. Bye, horrible. And we all have the ability to post that now. Now, should you? I don't know. But like, she's like, oh, people unfollowed me because I said I had a $10 million home. It's like, that doesn't mean that there's any less support for what you're doing, or like, I don't know. It's just like, you want people to like fawn over the fact that you can buy a $10 million home. Why would I do that? I also think it's like weird, and how do you live with yourself type of thing. I struggle with that. Like, how do you live in a $10 million house and not obsessively think like, oh my God, could I have bought a $9 million home and helped people with my other $1 million? Like, I think that all the time. And I try to push those feelings down, but it is something that I do wonder, like, how do you sleep at night?
And I also feel like,
again, we're 11 minutes in. I'm not seeing anything that's like, oh my God, wow, I really regret that. Like, and I was speaking generally too about, not just Cathy, but self-help people in general, that they get this mixed message.
I don't know the full story of this, but I feel like this isn't the full story, because I feel like she's like, oh, people unsubscribe because I posted my house. Did they unsubscribe or they unfollow because you posted your house, or did you say something like, were you being like, see, I work hard, like, what I mean?
Totally. She probably said, she's a manifesting queen, so she probably said, I manifested this from my journaling, blah, blah, blah.
I think better than you.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're, I don't know, people tend to follow people who are rich and wealthy. Like, they tend to genuinely follow them. Like, this is the only reason they follow Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like she's saying it's because of this, but I have just my instinct to like, people you probably said something that pissed some people off. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's a different thing.
And it's like, is it not enough for you to have a $10 million house? Like, that's a sickness, in my opinion. Like, it's not enough for you to have and to be living and to be secure enough and, financially abundant enough to live in this $10 million house, that you have to also get social media, like, validation about it. What is wrong with you?
Sorry. Well, it's not enough, because the reality...
Is it working, Cam?
Yes, I'm sorry. Turns out that final part was actually quite lengthy. So yeah, I've put it on. Let's listen.
Okay. You put it in. How did you send it? Through Google?
On the Google Drive, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, if you guys remember where we left off, essentially, Cathy was just about to start talking about Nelson Mandela, who
It's
for
always a
sure
good
bought
place
her
to
course,
start.
I think. And yeah, Nelson bought her course and changed his life. So
she knows him by the nickname Nelly. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Me and Nell go way back.
Nelly Mandeli.
Nelly Mandeli. Oh my god. That's too good.
But it's a very inspirational story, I will say. So.
Oh boy, can't wait. I forgot everything. Okay, that's 4. Okay. All right, back to the hot tea, the hot goss. Okay. All right. Nelson Mandela, what do you have to say about this? What do you have to say about Cathy Heller?
At prison, and he was like, I'm never going to get out of here. And then he was like, what if I could get out of here? And he started writing letters to the US government, and eventually they helped him get out. And then when he got out, he was like, but this country is so screwed up. What am I going to do? Who's going to run this country? And then he had a thought, which was like, what if I run this country? And he eventually did. And it's amazing. Like, we can't deny what he was able to do and how he changed the whole face of that country. And so it's just for me, there's just been so much evidence of the unimaginable things that can happen that can really change people's lives and change the world.
Yes, Cathy, I understand. You don't have to keep giving me examples, because I know those examples and I know a hell of a lot more. I used to watch the self-help space a lot. So I know. And there's also a lot of fabricated rags to riches stories, by the way, not just true ones. There's some that are true and that are inspirational, but some are fabricated and made up. So there's that too. You have to realize what we're talking about is the other side of the coin. We're talking about the dark side of it.
Hell yeah. Once again, come back with a zinger. Oh, I gotta play.
I was getting tired.
Like, I know, Cathy. I know who Nelson Mandela is. Thank you so much. Please shut up.
I just had no more patience. I'm like, oh, stop. Like,
you're on a roll. You're on a roll. I love it.
And for every Nelson Mandela, there's probably millions of people who would have been in a situation and committed suicide. So it's not as easy as, oh, well, look at Nelson Mandela, you can do it too. I know what you mean, and I'm sure that it's possible, but it's only possible if that person has the mental state to do it. And it's like a lot of the self-help industry, like your pal, Mel Robbins, for example. Mel Robbins studied law. She's giving people advice about mental health. Mel Robbins is not qualified to give people advice about mental health and charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for a talk. That is pretty much, I don't even know if it's legal. She doesn't have the qualifications.
Again, we love some Mel Robbins slander. Anytime we can get it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slander.
Well, I think the reason I mentioned her a few times is because she was advertising a podcast with her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think she did another one with her recently, because I just saw her picture again. And I was looking at her page. Maybe it's old now. Yeah, here. Live with Mel and Cathy. She's got her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 shirt on.
Yeah, I think this is the one.
September. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it costs money to go, apparently, because someone's like, can't wait, just bought my ticket.
Nothing is free. Come on.
Nothing is free in this world, except for Nelly Mandela. He did it with just positive vibes. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I'm on fire for you, Cam. You really did good, honestly. You had much more composure than I would have had. Okay.
I think what you just said is a really, 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 really important point, which is that if we are not in the, the state of mental health, or if we're not, like, how can we even begin to do any of those things? And oh my gosh, I totally get that. And, when people come to me, there are times where people share things with me and I say, oh my gosh, I'm here to help you build a business. Like, I'm not a therapist and you need to go find a therapist who can actually sit with you, who has the wherewithal to help you. What I can help you do is just look at the things that I have done that have helped me build a business, and that could give you that. That's all it can give you. And it's amazing how sometimes by taking action and starting a business, it gives people a tremendous amount of purpose, and it does sometimes help a lot. But for sure, you're right, not everybody is going to.
And just further on to say this about mental health, there's like, I don't even know, millions of mental health PhD people who have spent years and years and years studying to get a license to actually be able to treat people with mental health issues. And they get paid what, like $50 an hour, $100 an hour? They don't get paid $100,000 an hour. And they are actually qualified, and they can actually give people the real advice that they need, and that it will help them, because they get to see that person in their office. That person tells them about themselves, so their advice will be a lot more fitted than it is from someone coming on stage talking to 100,000 people. Not everyone is the same.
Yup.
You know, not everyone's going to benefit from what I'm teaching, and but I want to at least do my best to. That's why I put out this free content, this podcast. I do it at least twice a week, sometimes 5 days a week, because I really, really want to be in there. And the truth is, the first 2 years of the podcast, I didn't have any workshops. And then we started something called Made to Do This, where in 12 weeks, people would go from idea to their first dollar, right? And those were just so successful that I just kept doing workshops. And then once a year, I teach this podcasting thing. And then we started growing so many alumni that people wanted to go. They started making tons of money, and they wanted to come to the next level and the next level. So anyways, I totally hear where you're coming from, and
Totally.
I want to even hear more about it. And I'm not writing it off. Like, maybe we will talk, and I feel like this is really productive. I feel like it's really productive to have this kind of conversation, you know? So I appreciate the time, and it's been a nice part of my morning.
Has it been?
Sure.
She doesn't address it again. Like, she just literally goes, oh yeah,
she does.
I hear you.
No,
okay.
no, she does. Just
Okay, okay.
Right now, you'll see.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
It's so juicy.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then she says, totally 100% I understand what you're saying, right? That's hers saying that, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she sends more.
I just want to add.
Oh, wait. Okay. So I'm jumping ahead. Sorry. So she's going to say one more, then you're going to respond. And then she says, totally understand what I'm saying. Okay.
Add this because you want to hear the most ridiculous thing. My dad, who was very abusive, he's a psychologist. And he went through all the schooling and got his PhD and became a clinical psychologist and had his practice. And he wound up leaving my mom for one of his patients. He left my mom for. And I guess after, my parents got divorced, I went to therapy, And then after a while, I was like, who's to say that these people, look around, look at my life, look at my own father. So I think sometimes we even give those people too much credit.
Okay. This
Points were made, my friend. Points were made. She dropped a bomb right then and there.
This is like the exact opposite of what she said before, where it's like, well, Nelson Mandela, he dreamed big and he, did his thing. So it proves that anyone can do it. Okay. But your own dad was a therapist and he was bad. So that proves that everyone that's a therapist is bad. It's like, how does that make sense?
Listen, logic is irrelevant.
And at the same time, it's like, yeah, the point of therapy is that the person, it's not the cult of personality like these self-help gurus are. You're not getting advice about, your life from the therapist who's like, so what I did in this situation is this. It's like you're talking about your problems, and they are trained to be able to ask you questions and get to the point, or diagnose you based on a list of things in a book. It's not about your personality. So your dad's issues at home has nothing to do with his practice, perhaps. Now, I don't think what he did was right or whatever, but that's not what we're debating. Is every therapist now tainted because your bad experience? So everyone should just fucking do whatever they want and there should be no rules and no qualifications? Is that better?
And also just the fact that he cheated on her mom does not necessarily mean he was a bad therapist. Maybe
Exactly.
he was a good therapist.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I condone cheating, because that's the worst thing on the planet. I mean, no, it's not the worst thing on the planet, but just genocide. So but cheating is pretty fucking awful, and I've been through it, and it's not fun. But that is not necessarily about his job.
No, and that's the whole point of the industry. It's that it's not about you as a person dispensing advice because you're really good at living life. It's because you've learned psychologically how the brain works at some level, and how, depending on what type of therapy, like how you can help someone regardless of your own experience. And there are a lot of regulations in place that protect people so that if something does go wrong, you can complain and that person can be handled and taken their license taken away. So just to say well, my dad was a bad, man, and he happened to be a therapist. Well, that proves that, I should be allowed to dispense whatever nonsense I want for whatever price I want. It's very, my worldview is my worldview, and I'm going to just cast it out to everybody who should follow along. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's not, I don't appreciate this point about let's dismiss people who are qualified because every garden has a few bad weeds. Even if he was a terrible therapist and a terrible person, that does not mean that everyone in the business is like that. And I would, and it was also not the point that I was making, because the point I was making was a therapist is talking to that person directly. They know that person, and when they can talk to them, at least their advice is directed towards the person that they know in front of them, and not 10,000 people who think differently, act differently, have different mental health disorders, whatever. That was the point I was making there. But
yeah, it's not one size fits all. I think that's exactly the point you made. And also, you're saying that they have years and years of dedication and money and investment in the practice of psychology, and have, done a lot of work to get to where they are, and they are charging reasonable prices so they can help people. And then someone like Mel Robbins, her pal, comes along and charges $100,000 for an hour, and that is a claim that Mel Robbins has made repeatedly. And she definitely delves into therapeutic techniques. She's bringing people on stage that have anxiety about being on stage and forcing them into, talking into a microphone. You have no idea what you're doing, and you could be harming people, and you wouldn't know that because you have no schooling in that, degree. So it's you don't even know how bad you could be hurting somebody because you don't know. Yet you're fine with charging money for it. It's so wrong.
And it's very bad in the way that they're hurting people with invalidating their feelings and invalidating their experience and telling them, but see, there's people who have it worse than you. So, get over it. Seriously.
It's Heather, the lawyer, always talks about it about Rachel Hollis, where it's data point of one. Rachel Hollis will do something, it'll work out a certain way, and then she feels justified and qualified to give that advice out to the masses. It's do you know that not everyone is you? And the answer is, I think, in the self-help space, no, they don't. They don't give a shit if it's not applicable.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
and that's fine. That's fine with me to give advice and talk about your experience and how it worked for you. But it's not fine to charge a lot of money for things that may have only worked for you because you were you. There are things that worked for Rachel when she had her event planning business, only because she was her and she was married to a man working in Hollywood who could actually fix her up with people in Hollywood who then needed events, and she could be the event planner for them. That business, if it was me on a completely different side of the world,
Yeah.
I could have started an event planning company, not have access because I didn't have a Dave next to me, and completely
Changes the
failed.
entire thing.
Completely
Yeah.
failed. Like it's the access and resources are very important. Like I don't know. Just let's keep playing.
Yeah. And the thing is, we're not saying, and me and you and anyone who is here critiquing are not saying you should be forced by law to quit what you're doing and never do what you're doing again. Mel Robbins, Cathy Heller, Rachel Hollis, like we forbid you from doing this. All we're saying is, here are the holes we're poking in it, the flaws that we see in it, the people who will not benefit from this, in our opinion. And then we want to have just a voice as well. That's all we're asking for. And I think that's not that much to ask, just to allow us to go, well, let's talk about why this wouldn't work for somebody. But they just cannot handle it. They will do 4 hours of voice memos defending themselves. And it's like, that's the crazy part. It's like, whatever. Anyways, okay.
I'm sorry to hear this about your dad, and I'm sure there's also psychologists who are doing all sorts of bad things, but I think it's, it's more likely that that person who gets to see you and gets to know you can actually give you a piece of advice that will work for you and for your mental health problem than it is likely that a person on stage speaking to 10,000 people can give you a piece of advice who doesn't know you, who doesn't have any clue about what your mental health condition might be.
Yep. And she says, totally understand.
I also just wanted to add this, just because it's a productive conversation. I wanted to add this. Do you know who Dan Buettner is? Dan Buettner worked for National Geographic, and he discovered the blue zones. The blue zones are the places in the world where people live the longest. And there's like one in Japan, and there's one in Loma Linda, California. There's these like few places in the world where people live into their hundreds. And I had him on the show, and he's a scientist, and he researched why do these people live the longest. And he said that they have a few things in common. And one of them was that they have a very small amount of cortisol in their body. And he said cortisol is the thing that causes disease, because disease is caused by inflammation, which is caused by cortisol. And so he said that part of the reason these people lived into their hundreds is because when they meditate every morning or pray, he said it's either prayer or meditation, it lowers the cortisol, which lowers the inflammation. And so when I came to Los Angeles in 2003, about 3 years later, 2007, I enrolled at UCLA's research center. They have a research center where they study meditation and the scientific effects on the body. And it's all very research based. It's at a university. And I studied there for 3 years, and I learned that sometimes what we don't realize is that our thoughts, they actually create this cortisol in our body, and it gets our nervous system dysregulated, and then we feel more of those bad thoughts, which makes our body feel even worse. And so they showed me and taught me how we can start to notice these horrible, horrible thoughts that are just like these heavy clouds, and how we can pull ourselves out, which pulls the cortisol out of the cells. And so there's so much about mental health that actually we can now see it, we can track it, we understand every thought creates a chemical, right? And so it's not just in our mind, it's also in our actual physical cellular body. Like we feel our thoughts because we have these chemicals that come with every thought. So I actually went through a process when I was at UCLA to get certified in teaching these meditative tools. And for a few years, way before I ever had a podcast, I used to teach that. And then I stopped teaching that and started my own songwriting business. And I used to write music for shows like Pretty Little Liars and Younger and Grey's Anatomy. Anyway, and then I wound up having so many people say to me, how did you start this business of songwriting? And I started teaching songwriters first how to start a business. And then one of my songwriter students said, you should teach other people how they can take the same tools and apply it to something creative that they love. And so I started a podcast. And anyway, it just went on and on. But I love this conversation about real mental health and how we can change it.
Do you? Because you fucking went off on a tangent there.
It's very, very lovely. Yeah.
The blue zones. This is like what happens when you're chronically like looking at health blogs or on Goop or something, and you're just like seeing like, did you know Nelson Mandela like just thought good thoughts? Did you know that there's blue zones? Did you know that if you take 1 pound of stevia leaf a day, you'll have better digestion and the gut access? It's like, okay, like you don't actually comprehend or have any deep understanding of anything, but you just like have these little headlines that you can talk about at, yoga class. Like, did you hear the new cortisol study that, some person did? All disease is fake. It's like, oh, okay. Yikes. Yeah. Anyways, very bizarre.
So I responded to this.
Okay. I can't wait.
No, I responded in writing.
Oh, you want to read it? I've been reading it for you. I'm sorry. Do you want to read it?
I said, oh yeah, I'm sure that having a lot of money lowers cortisol. The blue dots are the richest part of a city. Poverty probably also adds a lot of cortisol to the mix. Our invitation remains open if you'd like to speak to us, Cathy. We are ready to let you change our minds.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I have the perfect soundbite for this.
Mic drop, homie.
Mic drop, homie. I love it. Okay, wait. Bro. Before we move on, thank you to Laura F. Laura, thank you. Laura picked a Shiba dog, raising an arm to greet someone, asking, "How is it going?" It's going good. We're in a purple zone right now. We're halfway between longevity and absolute poverty. So it's going okay.
It's going.
We
have 2 more to go and that's it.
And then we're done. Yeah. And this one's for you, Laura, before we move on.
I'm outside the Cheesecake Factory waiting for it to open.
There you go. That's where Lisa is at. Okay. Now here's Cam again.
That's a very...
Oh, wait. Cam said our invitation remains open. Now Cathy's going to respond to that.
Sweet. Thank you for that text. I like how you say we're ready to let you change our minds. First of all, I would never try to change your mind because I just want to be myself, and I appreciate that you're being yourself too. And I think we're both really coming from a beautiful place. You really care about these people, and so do I. I think we're on the same team in a way, like I really care about people. Maybe you get that now, but I know you do. I really can tell. And that's the thing. It's like my grandmother grew up in such poverty, and she lived to 96, even though she was malnourished as a child, and like her mother was murdered and all of that.
So like, does cortisol not affect you then, or what?
Listen, don't try to make much sense, please.
Okay, sorry.
It's not the place.
She's like, my grandma had really low cortisol levels. She was also in the Holocaust. Okay, all right, we're missing something here. Okay, sorry.
Because she told me that she used to find a way to go to the library and take out books, and it would take her to like a far off place in her mind. And she didn't have money to buy pantyhose, but she used to take a eyeliner pencil and draw a line up the back of her leg, and then go to Harlem and go dancing in these clubs, and it would make her so happy.
What?
And my grandmother was very much a part of my life, and she taught me a lot about happiness and how we can be happy even when we have nothing. And so I think that gave me a tremendous amount of strength in my life. And there's just a lot of good things we've both said today. So thanks for the conversation. I'm going to go take my kids to school, but I hope you have a really, really, really amazing everything. Great day, a beautiful day. And I hope that you just can feel that somebody across the world who doesn't know you really cares and values this conversation. And thank you for this.
Amazing. Okay, and then Cam, you want to read your last line?
I said if your grandparents grew up in Romania under communism, those would be some interesting stories about how the political system keeps people literally hungry. Thanks for being open. I appreciate this as well. Have a nice day.
Heart. Oh man.
God,
It
this
is great.
exhausting.
It is great to see behind the veil a little bit. And not that we don't get that, it's sort of obvious when we see the content, like, okay, what type of beliefs a person might have. But to really be faced with these oppositions and these questions, like, well, okay, abundance, you say abundance, but what about this? What about that? And they literally cannot address it without using like a one, example out of a trillion people. It does show that it is bullshit. Like, yeah, it may work, but you're taking it. You might as well do the lottery every day because that also may work.
I'm very lost in all of the stories that Cathy told me. I'm very confused. I don't know why she did this instead of talking to us on a podcast. I think that would have worked better, probably.
Well, I don't know. I think she didn't want us to share this. I'm assuming she didn't say do not share this publicly, but I mean, she is a business account, I would imagine. So I don't think there's any rules against sharing memos with you.
I mean, if Cathy doesn't think positive enough to to manifest some sort of law that is against sharing, then we'll see. I guess it depends on how powerful the meditation is that morning.
Yeah, how many hours she has to spend. I mean, I appreciate you having the conversations with her because I don't know what I would have said if I would have engaged more. And I think you handled it very, very well and got back to the point, which was, let's have this publicly. Let's debate it again. Like, I hear you. I'm understanding of Nelson Mandela. Like, here's my point. And she didn't address it. So, but I think it was very respectful. I don't think that anyone can say, oh my God, what a mean-hearted bitch you were to her. I don't think that's a fair assessment of what you said. And I think you gave her more grace than I would have. So, I don't know what she can say.
I feel like a very patient hero, frankly. Like, even having listened to this again, like, oh my God, that was exhausting beyond belief.
Yeah. It was several days, you said, like, back and forth. Like, okay, you'd send one, then you'd talk, and then a day would go by.
Yeah, it's not even that it was exhausting. What was exhausting to me was the fact that I felt like I was talking to a wall. Like, I was trying to talk to someone to get them to understand my points of view. And the response was like a broken radio, just telling me stories that I'm like, you know what I mean? It didn't feel like I was having a back and forth conversation most of the time. Sometimes maybe, but like most of the time it felt like I'm making a point, and instead of me getting a response to what I'm saying, I'm getting something completely different, completely not related. So it felt like literally speaking to a wall oftentimes. And this is why it was so hard, because and it was getting me annoyed, because it's hard to have that kind of conversation. It reminds me of having fights with my ex who would just tell me that everything I knew is false. So it's like, well, is it? Or
she reminds me of my mom. It's like, like, why are you upset? I'm like, well, here's why I'm upset. No, that's not. No, because, I tried really hard. It's like, okay, like, this conversation is not going anywhere. You're not going to hear me. You're not going to listen. You're going to tell me about a story about how you grew up and how hard it was for you. And so therefore I have nothing to complain about. That's sort of how it feels like, oh, you guys are mad about what I said about my $10 million house. Well, my grandparents suffered. It's like, okay, thank you. Sorry. That sucks. That's horrible. And I think they would probably benefit more from our point of view than yours, like that's the biggest thing that I'm like sort of thinking about this time around. It's like the people she all described would have had probably better lives if they would have not been in a competition for the top spot at all times, and like political divide and, lack of control in their lives. That's what we're saying. Acknowledge those things. No one's saying stop doing what you're doing, never teach again, don't make $1, die. Like, no one's saying that. It's like, just acknowledge that this is not foolproof advice. That's it. But they won't.
And it's God, I feel like I've said this so many times, but it's fine to repeat yourself, right? But like, I feel like it's sometimes I don't understand. Sometimes I just, it baffles me, because like, there is nothing wrong with fighting for a cause that would be that would benefit the many. Like, there is nothing wrong with something like, was it Norway that did universal income? Why not do something like that? Why not have healthcare? Why not fight for causes that benefit the many instead of telling everyone, no, you are special, you should hustle,
You're the
hustle,
one.
but we're gonna make it really hard for you. Like, we're just gonna make it close to impossible. But if you have 3 jobs and then a weekend, part-time, whatever, then maybe you will, somehow break through. And then you get like 100 people who come through, and then they keep regurgitating the same stories over and over and over again about those 100 people, making you think that you can do it just like them, when in fact there's 300 million who can't.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Is that a world that you think is so wonderful, or
how is
that
that
a world
fair?
that we should...
How is that balanced? That, like, why not? What this is why it's so ridiculous, because it's taking the focus from what is really important, what is like the big thing, that could actually help in the long term too, and make it so that people have housing, make it so that there's no more homeless people. Why are those people homeless? Why don't they have houses? Like, instead of doing that and just targeting actual issues, we're distracting from them. We're talking about how this one person, Nelson Mandela, made it through. It's like, yes, but did it need to be that hard in the first place? Like, did it have to be apartheid, and did it have to be so awful and disgustingly terrible so that he has to push through so hard? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, why is that?
It didn't have to be like that.
Especially now, we're modern enough where we know better and we could work on systems that are better. But it's difficult to make change. And we're not acknowledging that. We're not saying it would be so easy just to be equal and free. It's not. It's an incredibly difficult feat that we're all up against. But just to say, well, just buy my course and stick it out for yourself and fuck everybody else, that is the problem, because we're all accepting of this is the way it is and we have nothing we can do about it. And it's just discouraging, to say the least.
And I will say, again, I've beaten this point to death at this point. But like when half of Europe was under communism, and in '89, when the Iron Curtain fell off, and basically there was a ginormous revolution all over, people did realize just how much power they have. Like, it's people are not powerless like they think. Like, it's just, but there's messaging like that it gets it's so insidious, because it's so targeted, and you just kind of you kind of believe it because everyone tells you that. And it's very, very inspiring to see, actually, like, the masses can revolt. And for my country, it was 50 years of living in famine, 50 years of not being allowed to leave the country, 50 years of not being allowed to be religious, of whatever. Like, people very easily could have just put their head down and like never ever like revolt or whatever, and could have gone like North Korea for I don't even know how long. So those systems can be changed. They're not like they're not in
concrete
forever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like, change is possible. It's not impossible. It's not like people have done it. People have done it many times, and I've done it against things that were worse. Maybe this is why, because it was worse, because it was intolerably bad.
Yeah.
And maybe this is how it's keeping people a bit like satisfied, because it's not that bad yet.
Oh, definitely.
So just the fact that it's not that bad makes people be like, it's fine.
Or the hope that you could be that one standout that is going to get ahead. I think that's where a lot of people who make minimum wage but vote in a way that supports the top 1%, they believe deep in their heart that they will be there one day, and they are a part of that community, even though they most likely, based on the system that they're in, will never ever get there because of the way it's set up. Not necessarily because of their talents or whatever. It's like, unless you have something so special and get lucky and have help along the way that's not going to screw you over and all these things, there's no guarantee. But people will bet all of their time and money on one horse versus, saying, okay, like, there's a 1% chance I can win, but there's 100% chance I could help a little bit for everybody. And at least in America, we all go for the one horse and go, I want to win though. I want that jackpot, and that's what the problem is.
Another point, like it doesn't need to be as intense and as strong as like revolution, like it doesn't, maybe it doesn't, you don't have to overturn the government, but maybe if people are there's more activists that are fighting for, let's make it so that more people can have access to funds to start their own business, instead of saying, no, start your own business by having 3 businesses and whatever. Why not have funds in place that are like literally made for people who want to start a business? Why not, I don't know. There could be thousands and millions of solutions to these issues that don't include, you need to starve your children for a few years so that you can save enough money so that you can then, and in the midst of this, you have 3 jobs and your husband has 2 or whatever. Like, what I mean? Like,
hustle. Yeah, your whole life away. For what?
Maybe there could be laws implemented that make it so that, if you want to start your own business, the government gives you like a grant. And then with that grant, you do whatever you can, and maybe it's a grant that you don't need to pay back. Like, it wouldn't be bad.
Or go to school, have access to education at a higher level, cheaper, so that we can afford to go, and, not that be a privilege of the upper class, or if you get really lucky or are really smart. Like, how about average people who are 16, 17 that are just starting out in the world, give them a shot at a better university, or, I don't know. There's lots of different ways. And I'm not saying like every solution is wonderful and would work, but I think it's just a mindset thing. Like to say it's a mindset thing. Like, I think when we think of people, like I think of my neighborhood where I'm living right now, we know our neighbor, but we don't really know the other people. But if you were to think about a job, you're like, these people are not people. They're competition. They're competitors for a job that I want and need to survive. So if that person down the street gets my job, I'm fucked, And so we see each other as foes. The communities, at least, that I've been a part of, we're not communities. We're all individual people hustling, trying to go for stuff on our own. And I loved it. I thought in the beginning, because I was very highly motivated. I was like, okay, I'm smart enough. I'm driven enough. I'm good looking enough. I'm young enough. I'm white enough.
When you're young and you have ambition and you have some energy, but that I've also quickly found out, once you get discouraged 17 times in 5 years, you kind of lose some of that.
Yeah. And you go, what am I actually working towards? And why am I doing this? And I think for me personally, it was a lot of self-esteem issues that I still deal with, but it was a lot of self-esteem that I was like, I'm going to prove that I'm like deserving of being here. And that's the whole mindset that's wrong, because I didn't choose to be born. I didn't choose to fucking live here. It just happens. And that happens to every single person who's ever been birthed in their life. There's no choice by us. So the fact that we have to live with these consequences and fight for our lives is so unfair, in my opinion. And I don't have any grand solutions, but I think it starts locally. I think it starts by talking to people and trying to build community as soon as possible. Because like you said, individuals are competitors and a community can make change together. You're so much more powerful as a group. And I'm trying to, live my life more like that. And it's a work in progress, but I think that's a good start, is just talk to your neighbor, number one, and then talk to the guy next door and at least communicate, see them as a human being. That's it. And I don't know, I'm like going on like a rant almost about it, like not socialism, but just like we've become so against each other. And it's like, we're all in the we're on the same boat. We're all in the same choppy ocean, as Cathy would say, of love. And we're all trying to fight for our lives. It's like, let's help each other out. And I think, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, it's like, what changed the tides back in the day? And we talk about these topics a lot, and sometimes I go and think about it later. Like, what changed the tides before with like racism back in the 50s, 60s, and there was all this hatred, and it was just accepted to be just a racist, and it was okay. And what changed that? It was like, well, a big part of it, I think, was integrating the schools, and now all of a sudden, kids are having to be with each other and talk to each other.
And that came from above, right? That came from laws.
Yes,
it didn't
of course.
just happen with people being putting my kid in your school, and then it has to come from above. It has to come from the government. And as much as you can try to make change on your own, your ripple will be small. Like, it will, I know that I'm sure the self-helpers will be like, actually, you will impact 1 billion people by tomorrow. No, your ripple will be small. But if people like fight together for that, and then there's change implemented in the Constitution, that has a bigger impact, if you ask me. But okay, I sound like such a commie, right?
Well, it's not even that. It's just like, it's not even political necessarily. It's like, how do you live your life? And I think it's, there's a lot of discourse right now about what you can say, what you can't say, what's politically correct, what's not. And I think a lot of that is because we're living online in our own silos, in our own echo chambers of what is being served to us on the algorithm. And I think a lot of the issues we have right now, if we're in community locally, and I say in community like fucking Dave Hollis, but like, if you were in a community with a variety of people from different backgrounds, it's much, much harder to look at that person and go, you don't deserve to have the same rights as I do, because they're sitting in front of you as a human being. And it's almost like what Cathy was attempting to tell us and like show us, like, she's a human being. It's like, yeah, we get it. We know you're a human being, and we are going to have disagreements, but that's exactly what should be happening. Let's at least talk to each other to disagree, so that we can come to a conclusion at the end of it and go, okay, you think this, I think this. At least now, the next 20 years from now, she might go, that Cam girl on my DMs one time, she had a good point about that, and I'm going to think about it. I think what you did was good. I don't know.
And when I talk about community too, I don't mean something you pay for. I don't mean you need to buy a $4,000 ticket to be in Cathy's community. I don't mean you need to buy a fitness retreat thing to be in Heidi's community. That is not a community. That is a product. You're buying a product. Community is when people are really like, just there fighting for their thing, fighting for their neighborhood, trying, to sending letters to MPs, whatever it is that they're trying to do. It's not buy something. Like, I don't want people to bring more capitalism into it. Just, if you take the money aspect of it, if you don't have the money to be part of that community and you're not part of that community, that's not a community.
It's exclusive. Yeah. And I think honestly, to me, online communities are fine. I have one of my own that it's an exclusive group to join on Reddit, but I don't think that's not what I'm talking about when I say community. I think that's like an additional thing that's fun as an activity or hobby. But like, where you live, who your family is, if you have a family, like, that is a community, and expanding it. And that's how they get you so well, because we're all so fucking hungry for it. We're desperate for community. We have none of it. Like, especially in where I live, I live in a street with a bunch of houses next to a morgue. And so I can't what am I gonna walk over there and go, hey guys, like, let's hang out. Like, for me to go have a community, I have to go pay somebody to like go to the gym or go somewhere. So I don't know what the solution is, but I think if we had more time, like when you're in school and you're forced to be there, or you have a group of people where you're meeting often, and not just once, and not just because I'm paying for it and I need to be inspired, but like long-term in-person meetings of some sort, not even politically motivated, just in general, I think we would all be better off. No, I don't know how to do that. And I think the solutions are self-help community online, not a good replacement, or a church or a religious, organization, which I don't ascribe to. So I feel like left out. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Where do I go for a community?
Go join the socialists.
Rock climbing is my solution. But even that, it's like, not everyone can afford that. I'm lucky that I have, support and a partner that has a job, and I have a job, and I'm able to spend money to do that. But not everyone has that.
One thing that makes me think, well, it's kind of a story, but like in Glasgow, where I lived, like in front of my building, this corporation bought the land and they were planning to raise a building, new build, you know. And they applied for the permission once, and the community, the neighborhood, basically just complained against it. They didn't want it, so they got the signatures, whatever. I don't remember exactly what they got, but like, you know, we had enough that they were turned down the first time. And then they came back with a different design, which was lower so that you could still see past them, had more parking spaces and so on. And I think they got turned down a second time because, again, people were like, no, like we don't, you know. And eventually they did succeed the third time. But this is what the power was. Like they were like, these were people on Facebook. These were like people living in that neighborhood being like, no, I don't want my view to be taken away because some corporation wants to raise a high rise here.
Yeah.
Like, no. So they fought against it and, you know, didn't succeed 100%, but they did get the building to be just the same as the others and not higher. And have more parking space, which makes it better for people so that they don't struggle for parking in the space. And, you know, like, that's just an example that I lived through. But
yeah, it's like local change.
Yeah. It's
being
just
involved. Yeah, I don't mean politically again.
A petition, you know, like it wasn't like a revolution. It wasn't, they didn't take down the corporate world. But for them locally, it made it better.
Yeah. And I think that's a great example because if you were to tell that to Cathy, okay, let's bring it back to her, and you were to say, you know, respond to her and go, well, in my community, blah, blah, blah. It's not as big and as grand as Nelson Mandela being imprisoned and then, you know, getting out and taking over the country. Those are the types of stories that they're inspired by. And I think that's wrong. I think there's little things every single day that people do for each other that should get more attention, should be celebrated by the masses. But because of the way media works and because of the way that we're conditioned in school to fight for the top spot, a valedictorian and all of that stuff, all those little pieces work together to make you feel like you're alone. I think a lot of people, I feel alone all the time. I think a lot of people in this world feel alone. And we all then, I don't know, we like panic, and then it's all about the romantic relationship. Like that's the only thing that we can do because, you know, society has been set up in a way where it's like, oh, okay, like go and find, here's a dating app, go and find that person, and that becomes your everything. And I think we're really missing out, at least here in my own personal experience, group community. And I'm lacking it so much. And I think it's, yeah, because we all are, that's why these self-help groups are thriving, because people just want human interaction. And they're like one of the few places that it's offering that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah. It's a lot, to be honest.
And the thing is, there's no solution. There's not like, we'll buy our course and we'll tell you how to fix the, you know, country, late stage capitalism and all the issues that have gone on. There is none. We just can keep talking about it and thinking about it and going, you know, what can I do tomorrow to make it a little bit better for myself and for others?
Yeah, and I think there are solutions. It's just sometimes it's hard to see them because you're busy hustling for your life.
I think they want it that way. The less people talking, the less people working together, the less people sharing resources. Share the fucking lawnmower, you know, in your neighborhood. Like that would probably help. So like, I don't know, it hurt the lawnmower company, of course, but like if you all shared it, it'd be cheaper for everybody. But it's the way that we're set up. It's like, I'm not conspiratorial in that way, but I do think there is some active mindset, things going on to make people feel like this is the only way. If you live collectively, I'm not saying live on a commune on a farm and start a cult, you know, that's not the only way to be a little bit more focused on community. And I think, I don't know, anytime I've ever been involved with people locally, my life has been so much more enriched. And then I got off on the path of Gary Vee, who said famously in my world, you want to play on a tennis team, you want to play tennis with your friends and not hustle, then this isn't for you. And I felt so vindicated at that time because I'm like, oh, I don't have any friends. So this was an excuse. I'm like, oh no, I'm just hustling really hard. That's why I don't have a big community, a big group of people to be with. But so I think it's like, what's that when you, confirmation bias, where it's like, I'm already struggling with this thing. So this guy's giving me an easy way out to feel like, well, if I just hustle hard enough, then not having friends will be worth it. But then I'm upset and miserable and sad. And
Definitely
I'm like,
not.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm missing the point of life, I think. So I'm trying to get back on track to being more of a person that's like showing up in the community and not just
And
for
I
myself.
also contrary to what may be believed, I also think that's actually good for business, because if you have more leisure time, you're spending more. You're using your money, you're putting your money into activities, you're putting your money into whatever brings you joy. You're spending money. So that's good for capitalism in a way. Like if you're constantly working 3 jobs, when are you spending your money?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I know. That's what Henry Ford's, why he made the car affordable for people and gave people the 8-hour workday, because it was, if people are working for 24 hours at my factory, they're not going to be able to buy the car to use it to take their families wherever. So it was like, okay, work less. We'll pay you more, I guess. I don't know, back then standards, so that you could partake in the capitalist world. And it's just that this thing is like, we're so, like they say, like late stage capitalism, we're so far into it now that again, like to get to the top of the pile, it's like a fucking 3 times Mount Everest. Back then it was like, like a little hill. You had more chance. There was less competition, I think, in a lot of ways. And now it's like, we're all just trying
It's
so
pretty
hard.
scary. Yeah. Right now, you need, if you live in London, you need, I don't know, half your money just for rent, maybe more than half. Your salary just goes to rent. So that's the only place you're spending money, because you have nothing left.
I think that's why we drink too. Like a lot of people in the United States, and I guess in Europe too, but like, the alcohol culture is like that's the only place people go and like have community also, like go and feel like I just want to be around other people. The only acceptable places to do that is like at a bar. And it's like, that's not the best, it's not the worst necessarily. It could be for some people, but like, is that the only option for everybody? I wish it wasn't.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of drinking over here also because it's so cold and there's nothing else to do. So
yeah, I don't blame it. I mean, I used to be, when I first stopped drinking back in 2019, I was like super, super strict. And I'm like, I don't want to drink anything. I won't have a sip of it. I got so like to the other side of it where I was like anal retentive about it. And now I feel like, you know what do I give a shit? If I want to have a sip of alcohol or a drink of alcohol, I'm not going to be like, I will never again try it in my life. Because I think it's just not healthy to be that militant about it.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah. No, I don't still drink, but still, I'm not as like, I can't even be near it anymore. Like I used to be very like one or black and white, like don't drink at all, ever, nothing, or I can be wasted on the whole weekend. And I just think, over time, your beliefs sort of settle.
And your liver.
Yeah, my liver's recovered now. Thanks to my new favorite book, Medical Medium, Secrets Behind Chronic Illness. Look how big this book is.
Did you think about stress? Maybe you're stressed.
I definitely am stressed, always.
Apparently stress and cortisol it's not a thing in rich places. So
have you thought about moving to Japan?
You thought about moving to a mansion? Maybe that would help.
I never thought of that. Good idea, Cathy.
You should give it a shot. Like seriously, like Cathy said, there's no cortisol in rich places. So
yeah, I wonder why. But
I know, right?
But money is not everything either. I just watched that documentary about the rich family in South Carolina that the guy like killed his wife and son and had all these frauds, and like I don't know. I mean, that's a rare case, but it's like they had everything and they still were like super corrupt. It was the Murdaugh family. If you have time, you should look it up. It's very interesting.
I'm currently watching the Meghan and Harry documentary.
Oh,
series.
how is it?
Oh, well, nothing I ever known this far, but I've only gone through half of the first episode, so
okay.
You know. But yeah, they are rich and they still had issues.
Still do. They were like the richest
what
ones
about
ever.
that cortisol level?
Yeah. Okay, this is related, sort of unrelated. You hear the thing about Kanye having to pay $200,000 to Kim every month for child support? How is that a month? $200,000. How is that logical in any way? I know it's percentage based, but how can you possibly justify that a child to live costs that much money? And if that's true, why are we allowing some kids to live off $0 a month? And that's acceptable.
Yeah, I will never understand how rich people live. Well, maybe not never. Maybe, who knows? A year from now, I'm manifesting right now.
I think all that money should go directly to like a foster care program.
I mean, maybe Jewish foster care program?
Yeah, specifically. Just to pay back the debts of Kanye's words. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Was that true what you posted on Instagram that he changed his name to like Yitler? Or
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was not a joke.
Oh my God. I can't. I mean, same thing about the
I
Liver
have
King.
no more opinions. Like I've run out of opinions. Like I just don't know what to say. Like, okay.
Yeah. Same thing about the Liver King. Like I was never a consumer anyways. I was never going to buy his product. I wasn't listening to Kanye's music really before. So I'm not really affected either way, but it's just like, oh my God, like how is this real?
Yep. Sorry. It's really late over here. But
okay. Good chat.
Good chat. I hope you guys enjoyed Cathy Heller's opinions.
Yes. We'll let you know if we get our cease and desist letter or lawsuit.
We are entitled to share our opinion. I would just say it's not slander if it's true.
Well, all we did was expose it, and it wasn't like she didn't know she was sending us a voice message, because there are laws about sharing things that are like, if you don't know you're being recorded in certain states, you can be, in trouble for that. But if you send something to an account,
this is pretty legal. It's fine.
Yeah. So just in case it was wondering.
But just it's fine. I don't think Cathy is a good person. I don't think she would do that, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe she'll be like,
no, she's a good person. She said several times.
Have you heard of Nelson Mandela?
Did you not hear her?
I totally get why you hate me. It's totally fine. We don't hate you. We don't know you.
We literally don't hate. Like, we don't hate her. I don't care. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Agreed. But it's just an example of how abundance and manifestation is really just bullshit. So.
Yeah. So just change your frequency, everybody, and you will all have
frequent all that fruit.
Yes. The mango frequency. Okay.
Frequent veggie shopping.
Yes. Get your celery now. Survive. Yep. All right. Goodbye. See you next week, everybody. Peace out.
Love and light, everyone.
Love and light.